I've been waiting all day for this.
You play the game to have an opportunity to be the best. Be the best. Be the best today.
All right, Sunday night, where are you? Just kicking back from the things that you do. You want the big game, we want it too. Hey Jack, it's a fact, the best show in town. The Broncos and the Bolts going 15 rounds. Al and John will make you crank up the sound. The NFL's best have come to play. For every fan, there's just one thing left to say. Well, I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. The tough get rough in a primetime fight. The last one standing gets to turn out the lights. 'Cause I've been waiting all day for Sunday night.
Goodrich, here we go. He ain't gonna catch him. Goal line. Dimmer has got a touchdown. Up the middle. Into the end zone. San Diego's got the lead. Incredible.
Sunday night football on NBC. The only game that you have to see. Don't need a ticket, all you need's a TV. 'Cause the NFL rocks on NBC.
It was 55 degrees this afternoon in Denver, but right now, a little after 6 o'clock, it is 34 degrees. And 75,000 people at Invesco Field at Mile High roar their approval as their Denver Broncos have just come out onto the field, ready to face LaDainian Tomlinson and the San Diego Chargers on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels with John Madden and Andrea Kramer. Welcome to Denver. This has the makings of a great game. San Diego last week down by 21 at the half, scored 42 second half points, a spectacular come from behind win over the Cincinnati Bengals. They come in with a mark of 7-2. Their quarterback is Phillip Rivers. In his first year as their starter, he's played 9 games. In a word, he has been outstanding. And they have LaDainian Tomlinson, regarded by many as the best running back in the league. San Diego leads the league in scoring. As far as Denver is concerned, all you need to know is that in 7 games this season, in each of those 7 games, Denver has scored less than 20 points. Their record in those games, 6-1. And that tells you one thing. Defensively, they have been great. So, John, what makes that Denver defense tick, and what do they do tonight against this potent San Diego offense?
Well, you know, you just watch the Denver defense and you realize one thing. They really play well as a team. And then Marty Schottenheimer was saying last night, and I think he's right, he said, this is the best tackling defense that he's ever seen. They have good speed, and they match up well against the Chargers. Now, what they've done here is they've always played them with an 8-man front. They use John Lynch like the extra linebacker, and they say LaDainian Tomlinson is not going to beat us with a run. That has worked in the past. I'm not sure it'll work tonight.
Now, the Chargers began the season, they played Marty ball. They were conservative, and it cost them a game at Baltimore that they felt they should have won. All of a sudden now, over the last 5 or 6 weeks, Marty ball has become Air Coryell. How did that happen?
Well, it's a lot more fun, isn't it? I think it was a result of that Baltimore thing. They realized we can't play like this, and that we can't keep the wraps on Phillip Rivers. If we're going to be an offensive team, he has to be a pro quarterback. He went out against the Steelers. He was a pro quarterback, and ever since then, he's been the guy. So now you can't go in there like the Broncos are going to try and do tonight and say we are going to stop Tomlinson, because now you have to feel that Phillip Rivers can beat you.
Chargers, Broncos, 2 original AFL teams. They've been teeing it up since 1960.
This is the kind of games that you play football for.
We're on a huge stage tonight, and our team knows it.
As a kid, these are the type of games you dream of playing in.
Every chance you get, man, to get a leg up on the competition, you have to do it. You got to seize the moment.
'Cause the NFL rocks on NBC.
NBC's Sunday Night Football is brought to you by Chevrolet, America's brand. Chevy, an American revolution. By Canon, wherever there's a great image, there's Canon Image Anywhere. By the U.S. Army, there's Strong and then there's Army Strong. Find out more at goarmy.com/strong. And by Dockers San Francisco, work, weekend, dress, golf. Spanish audio provided by Telemundo.
Well, I can stand beside ideals like
We go, and let's Let's check in with Andrea Kramer.
Good evening, Al. Well, Denver's fourth-ranked rushing attack has struggled the past 2 games. So the question tonight becomes, for whom the bell tolls? Well, it will not be for Tatum Bell. He's been nursing 2 turf toe injuries, and he did practice this week. Mike Shanahan actually upgraded him to probable, but Shanahan told me in his gut he feels like it's better for him to rest and get him ready to play again in 4 days. So Mike Bell gets the start, and Damian Nash will see some action as well.
All right, Andrea, Mike Bell, an undrafted rookie from the University of Arizona. Nash had been elevated last week from the practice squad. San Diego will get it. Paul Ernster, who also serves as the Denver punter, will kick off 13 touchbacks, second in the league, and that's not unusual for a guy who plays half of his games at 5,280 feet. Michael Turner, who is the backup to Tomlinson and a great running back in his own right, will return the kick. And here we go for first place in the AFC West. 2 yards deep. Turner comes out of the end zone. And he brings it back out to the 22-yard line. And as we take a look at the San Diego starting offense.
Phillip Rivers, NC State.
LaDainian Tomlinson, TCU.
Lorenzo Neal, Fresno State.
Keenan McCardell, UNLV.
Eric Parker, Joliet Township High School.
Antonio Gates, Detroit Central High School.
Marcus McNeil, Auburn.
Chris Dillman, Indiana.
Nick Hardwick, Purdue.
Mike Goff, Iowa.
Shane Olivier, The Ohio State University.
Each team 7-2, but the Chargers have found it very rough playing in Denver through the years. They have not won a game in this stadium, which is 5 years old. This is their 6th game here, and here's Tomlinson, and he's had a tough time in particular here in Denver. He gains 5. Here's the Denver D.
Kennard Lane, the U.
Michael Myers, Alabama.
Gerard Warren, Florida.
Ebenezer Ekuban, Carolina.
DJ Williams, the U.
Al Wilson, Tennessee.
Ian Gold, Michigan.
Champ Bailey, Georgia.
John Lynch, Stanford.
Nick Ferguson, Georgia Tech. Darren Williams, Oklahoma State.
That's a defense as you look at John Lynch now in his 14th season, 11 at Tampa, 3 here. They have given up 8 touchdowns in 9 games, and 4 of them came in 1 game against the Colts. Now Tomlinson, and Tomlinson close to a first down, but a little bit short. Tomlinson has played 5 games in this stadium. This is his 6th year in the league, so he never played at the old Mile High. And Denver has had his number, because here at Invesco Field he has averaged only 52 yards per game and just 3.4 per carry. His average per carry this season coming in 4.9. 3rd and 1 from the 31. And this time it's the up back, and that's the fullback, Lorenzo Neal. So 3 runs, John, and a first down.
Right, and we see John Lynch up there like we were talking about, and what that does is that brings the safety down, gives you an 8-man front, and in essence gives you a 4th linebacker. That time the Chargers just ran right at John Lynch. You're going to see him. He's going to be coming up here, and he's going to take this gap right here. So you have the 3 linebackers, then you have John Lynch. He's taking on that gap, and boom, they just ran right at him.
San Diego proficient on 3rd and 1 this season. 13 out of 14 times they've converted. Neal is the fullback. He's as good as they come out of that spot. He leads the way for Tomlinson, and Tomlinson cuts inside of him. And LaDainian, with a flag coming in at the end of the play, takes it to the 39. Bill Carollo is the referee. Nick Ferguson made the tackle.
Don't you feel that LT maybe heard those stats you were talking about a little too much this week?
He's heard about it and read about it.
I saw him when he came into the hotel last night. He just looked like a fired-up guy.
Face mask, 25, defense, 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. Replay, first down.
Penalty is on Ferguson. Tomlinson with a chance to break Sean Alexander's less than 1-year-old NFL record for touchdowns. Ooh, just grazed it.
I don't think, unless he got, no, he didn't get it at all.
No.
No, that was a phantom face mask.
Now you have Tomlinson split out. He's their leading receiver. He's in the slot. and Michael Turner operates out of the backfield, and that presents a new set of problems for the defense. And here is Turner, as good a backup running back as there is in the league, up to the 46-yard line. So we know about Tomlinson. We've talked about Turner and will throughout the game. And then there is this guy, Philip Rivers. Remember, draft day 2004, Eli Manning saying, I'm not going to San Diego. They pick him anyway. Rivers gets picked by the Giants. You have a trade. Rivers goes to San Diego. He's on the bench for 2 years back of the suddenly sharp and emerging Drew Brees, and then Brees leaves. Rivers inherits the job, and through 9 games this season, he has just been great. First and 10 from the 46-yard line. They give it to Turner, and he's taken down behind the line of scrimmage. DJ Williams is there for the stop.
Yeah, and that's another reason that the Broncos feel that they really do so well against this Charger team, is that they have speed at the linebackers. And here you see DJ Williams. He's coming on a blitz. Al Wilson right behind him. That they haven't pressured a lot this year, but I think they're going to pressure the Chargers more tonight. And in talking to the Chargers, they expect more pressure defenses tonight.
You see, Wilson, Schottenheimer said last night, he never makes a wrong first step. 2nd and 11. Inside handoff. Tomlinson, and he goes nowhere. And that's John Lynch coming up to spill him at the 47-yard line. And that will set up a 3rd down and 8. Mike Shanahan going over his defensive card. Marty Schottenheimer now in his 5th year at San Diego.
You know, Larry Coyer, the defensive coordinator of the Broncos, just says we're going to take away the run. We're going to have gap control. We're going to have all the gaps. LT's not going to run. And so you kind of get the feeling that maybe the Chargers come out here and say, they say we can't run. We're going to show them we can run. We just had a shot at Barrel Man.
7 runs, no passes. Now out of the shotgun on 3rd and 9. Here they come. All that blitz. Ferguson gets to Rivers and forces him to throw it away. And there's a flag on the other side of the field, back at the 43-yard line.
I think that's against the...
it's offside Denver.
Yeah, I think it's against Denver. I think it's 92, Elvis Dumerville. That key move.
Offside, defense, 52. 5-yard penalty, replay 3rd down.
Well, it ended in a 2 anyway.
Yeah. Ian Gold, who was inactive last week.
And he's a guy, and you're going to see him right in here, and he comes into the gap. He was going to blitz in that gap, and he just tried to time it up, and he got there a little early, didn't he?
Denver, the least penalized team in the league, but 2 on this first drive already. The face mask on Ferguson, which was kind of a bogus call, and this one of the few defensive fouls that does not result in an automatic first down. So it's 3rd down and 4. 4 wide receivers, and Tomlinson flanking Rivers. Rivers' first pass of the game is complete, caught by the sure-handed Keenan McCardell, but there is another flag on the play here.
Doesn't Philip Rivers look comfortable, though? You know, here's a quarterback, and especially in the shotgun. I mean, he just gets that ball. It's right up there and right out. And those are the things that he's been working on since he was in high school and his dad was his coach. You know, keeping that ball up, not dropping it, and getting that quick release.
Defense, right defensive tackle. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, 1st down.
Just watch. What he wants to do is catch that ball, put it up by his shoulder, and then just bring it out right from there. He kind of pushes it out, but there's not a lot. Once that ball is going, there's not a lot, or there's not any wasted motion.
So Keenan McCardell's catch will count. They decline the penalty. 855 for Keenan in his career, 9th all time. And then Tomlinson gets buried by John Engelberger, the one-time 49er, knocking him to the ground after a short gain.
Yeah, we're talking to Philip Rivers. I remember the last time about how low he has to get. You watch the center, Nick Hardwick, and he gets down low. See here, so Philip Rivers is 6'5", so he has to squat down at that angle to get the ball. He said he's never had a center as low as Hardwick is, and he's had to make that adjustment. And watch him here. He stands up, and then he's up here. Then he'll make the adjustment. He'll go down to the squat. You see right there, see how low he has to get?
He even gets down low in the huddle. The pass is thrown to the left side, and that's Mano Maliuna, the tight end, who scored a touchdown against Cincinnati last week, to the 40. You know, it's funny talking about how low he gets. Some of the Chargers were saying Drew Brees was 6'1", but he stood up tall in the huddle, so they'd have to, you know, look straight at him. He said, we looked down at Rivers, who's 6'5".
I remember Rivers was telling us when he came in the huddle one time, he was all fired up. And he started saying, we got to do this, we got to do this. And he said he looked at the linemen and they didn't say anything. He said, golly, do you guys hear me? He said, yeah, but that's the way offensive linemen are.
Well, that was in the Pittsburgh game. He said, let's close it. They say we can't close it. Let's close it. And they did that night. Pressure on, and that forces the pass to be thrown up like a balloon, and it's incomplete. Ian Gold came in and gave Rivers a shot. And then all of the Chargers in the neighborhood all had to think about becoming defenders. That time they had 9 guys in the box, did the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and Ian Gold is a pass rusher from this outside here, and he is going to come right here completely free. They had the 9 men up. They weren't sure which were going to come. The corner drops back. They go, no one blocks Ian Gold, and he is right on Phillip Rivers. And Phillip Rivers was lucky that ball wasn't intercepted.
Yeah, Vincent Jackson had to become a defensive back. Now a floating kick by Cyphers is fair caught at the 8-yard line by David Kirkus. So San Diego runs 11 plays, but still they have to punt. Plummer and Denver with the ball for the first time when we come back. Denver, not far from that site, maybe a mile and a half. Invesco Field at Mile High, next to what used to be the old Mile High Stadium. From the 9-yard line, 2 tight ends set for the Broncos as they start on the first down here. And the ball is tossed back to the rookie Mike Bell for a gain of 6. Here is the Bronco offense.
Jake Plummer, Arizona State.
Michael Bell, Towson High School.
Kyle Johnson, Syracuse.
Rod Smith, Missouri Southern.
Javon Walker, Florida State.
Steven Alexander, Oklahoma.
And the line, Eric Pierce at left tackle. Ben Hamilton is the left guard. Tom Nalen, the longtime center. The right guard is Cooper Carlisle, and the right tackle is Adam Meadows, the old Colt who was gone for 2 years. He supplants George Foster, who's been relegated to the bench, and I told you who they were because they don't talk to the media. Haven't talked to them in years. That's part of the deal. But I did hear Tom Nalen on the radio today doing a promotional spot, so I guess if Commerce is in the equation, they will talk.
Oh, you did catch him,
yeah,
huh?
I caught him. Plummer, meanwhile, some of his numbers not very good, except those 39 and 13, which means he wins 3 of every 4 games since he became a Bronco.
You know, one of the things the Chargers are talking about is how do you defend him? Is he going to be a pocket passer tonight, or is he going to try to get to the outside on play action passing bootlegs?
3rd down and 4. Play action here. Pass to the outside into traffic, and it's incomplete, and it was intended for Javon Walker and deflected, and it will be 4th down. So it's a 3 and out.
You know, the Chargers really miss Sean Merriman. You know, you're talking to Marty Schottenheimer last night about their defense, and they kind of got lit up last week against Cincinnati, and part of it was that they didn't have a good pass rush. So that's one thing. I mean, they still don't have Merriman tonight, but that's one thing that they feel that if they're going to have success defensively, they have to be able to get to Jake Plummer.
Ernst, their average is 45 yards a punt here, 39 on the road. So he loves it at 5,280 feet, and that's a typical mile-high punt. Fielded at the 32-yard line. Eric Parker, one of the San Diego wideouts, with a decent run back out to the 49-yard line. That was a 54-yard punt and a 15-yard run back. 34 degrees. Barrowman says, who cares? These two teams meeting since 1960 when the Chargers came into the league as the Los Angeles Chargers. Since the merger, the Broncos are 30-5 with 1 tie. And since 2001, they've outscored San Diego 82-17 in the first half here. So a house of horrors for the Chargers through the years. That pass is tipped and intercepted at the 42-yard line by Nick Ferguson. So Rivers, throwing on the first play following the punt, has it tipped, and the Denver defense with a pick. First in his last 125 passes for Phillip Rivers.
Well, you know, Denver is all about gap control. Every defensive lineman has a gap, and you not only have that gap for run, but you also have that gap for pass. And you have to get your hand up. Gerard Warren was the guy there. He started in fact, he was on a stunt. They were on a twist stunt in the middle. He got into his gap, couldn't get back to the quarterback, but he did get his hand in the passing lane.
Only the 4th interception of Rivers all season. Denver now at the 42. Can they capitalize on the break? Instead, that pass is batted back. And that's big Jamal Williams. And the last time we saw San Diego on a Sunday night in October against Pittsburgh, he had a monster game.
You know, and Jamal Williams, you know where he's going to be. I mean, he's right over the center, and you see him get that pass rush. And he's not a big pass rusher, but he is so big, so strong, controls that middle, that he pushes everything back. Then all he has to do is get about a 3-yard push, get his hands up, and it is tough to throw in the middle when he's in the middle.
6'3", 248. Sean Phillips, who started at outside linebacker, is back in the locker room. We'll check on that. Here's Bell up to the 46. They're minus, as we take a look at the San Diego defense, and they're minus some guys, but here they are.
Jock Cesare, Southern Connecticut.
Jamal Williams, Oklahoma State.
Igor Olshansky, Oregon.
Sean Phillips, Purdue.
Randall Godfrey, Georgia.
Donnie Edwards, UCLA.
Carlos Polk, Nebraska.
Quentin Jammer, Texas.
Marlon McCree, Kentucky.
Terrence Kill, Texas A&M.
Drayton Florence, Tuskegee.
That secondary lit up last week by Carson Palmer, but the game was won by San Diego in that miraculous comeback. 42 second-half points. 3rd and 6. Plummer out of the shotgun. Under pressure, gets it away, and that pass is incomplete, intended for Mike Bell. So that San Diego defense, and we mentioned minus key guys. Sean Merriman, Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, 3rd game of a 4-game steroid suspension. He's gone for 2 more weeks. Luis Castillo, the outstanding defensive end, out for maybe another week. And Phillips back in the locker room at the moment.
Right, and I'll say this, the Bronco offense really hasn't tested him yet. I mean, that was 3rd down there. They go 3 wide receivers. They get a nickel defense, and they throw a none-yard pass. Even if that pass had been completed, he would have been tackled right there and still have to punt from the same spot.
Ernster in for his 2nd kick. Eric Parker to run it back. High floating kick. Fair catch called for, but there to stop it at the 1-yard line, Jerome Cox, one of their special teams maven. Great play, set himself up at the 1, and that's where Phillip Rivers will begin San Diego's next drive from the Colorado State Capitol. Diego, John, trying to come out from the 1-yard line in the closed end of the stadium.
And it's going to be tough for him to hear down here, and I think this Bronco defense is really going to press him here and try and get a safety.
Do you run, do you pass? They give it to the up back, and that's Lorenzo Neal, the fullback, who picked up a 1st down on the 3rd and 1 earlier. He gets about 1.5 yards. Lynch and Gold in on the hit. You know, it's funny, through the years, John, we always thought, especially in the Shanahan years, of Denver as being an offensive team, but you know, it's almost like they've gone back to the Orange Crush days now.
And it is, and you know, it's kind of like the Baltimore Ravens, you know, and Billick there, you know, an offensive guy, and he has a defensive team, and they do this. And again, to me, a big part of it in this run defense is John Lynch being able to fit like he is up there as the 8th man up, be a linebacker or safety.
On 2nd and 8, this time the pass goes to Neal, and it's all he can do to hold on to it. Good blitz pickup in the backfield by San Diego out to the 8-yard line, so they give him some breathing space. Gold and Myers in on the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 3.
You know what impresses me about this San Diego offense? When they go play action pass, they always get a back or 2 backs out on the pass. You know, a lot of teams will use play action pass as a pass protection and not get a back out. The Chargers on play action pass always get a back out.
3rd down and 3. Manu Maliuna now sets up in the backfield with Tomlinson. Rivers rolling, and then the pass is caught by Tomlinson out to the 18-yard line. And LaDainian Tomlinson not only closing in on 1,000 yards rushing for the season, he's their leading receiver. Tomlinson has now caught 45 passers this year.
Brandon Maliuna is the 2nd tight end. but he's also a very good blocker. And they'll use him in pass protection so they can have two tight ends, one keep him in as a pass protector, and then have Antonio Gates and get him out in the pass pattern.
Denver walking it up to the line. Lynch was ready to come. This time Tomlinson gets taken down at the 20-yard line. Gain of 1, maybe 2. Ebenezer Ekuban in on the tackle.
You know, I think we're seeing that thing we talked about in the opening about how well these guys tackle. You know, in some teams, you know, you'll have a couple guests on your team. You know, you have like 9 pretty good tacklers and two guys just hanging around as guests. This team, there are no guests, and not only that, they're all good tacklers.
I like that phrase. That's great. A couple of guests.
There have been corners in football. There have been guests in the running game.
Yes.
Not on this team.
One of them might even wind up in the Hall of Fame. 2nd and 7. Rivers to the outside, and that is caught by Eric Parker. Parker up to the 29-yard line and a first down. Phillip Rivers has been remarkably consistent in so many areas this year. When he throws passes behind the line of scrimmage, there's his rating. When he throws from 1 to 10 yards, 99, which is a great number. 111.6 is terrific from 11 to 20, and then 101.7 when he throws more than 20 yards downfield. So all 4 distances, normally there's a much greater disparity than you would see there. That is consistency personified.
And usually behind the line is the best, and in his, behind the line was the least.
Turner is the running back. They split Tomlinson. You've got Rivers throwing, and that is caught by Vincent Jackson, who takes it to the 46. Vincent Jackson played his college football at Northern Colorado. He is 6'5", 241. Remember the last Vincent Jackson who played in the National Football League? You might remember him better as Bo Jackson.
Yeah, that was Bo Jackson's day. Watch what Jackson does here. That's what you do. You find a hole in a zone. And what I like about Phillip Rivers, look, he's 6'5", but he uses all 6'5". I mean, he stands tall in the pocket, and then he can see those zones, and he can see the openings or holes in the zone.
Here's Tomlinson now, shaving off the left side, gets by Ferguson. Down the sideline he goes before he's run out of bounds by Wilson. And so the Chargers, who began this drive at their own 1-yard line, are now down to the Denver 21. That's a 24-yard run by LT.
Bet your Chargers are going to pull their right guard here, Mike Goff, and you're going to see he'll be able to see he gets a lead from the fullback, and then right there Goff comes through the hole, but Tomlinson says, I don't need any of that. He just outruns the whole thing.
Tomlinson now with 44 yards on 7 totes. Turner's the running back. Flag before the snap. Full start.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a deal with the running back where you want to be patient. You wait for your lead block. You wait for your old guard. But then at one point you say patience. The heck with patience.
Number 61, offense, illegal snap. 5-yard penalty, replay first down.
Center Nick Hardwick.
You know, I got to get out of here, and that's what LT did on that play. I mean, you know, he had enough of patience, and then he just outran everyone. Now, this isn't bad. When Tomlinson needs a rest and you bring in Michael Turner, I'm not saying that he's as good or even as close to Tomlinson, but this guy could start on over half the teams in the NFL right now.
He's averaging 6.4 yards a run. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. He'll be somebody else's starter before long, and then Ferguson takes him down. He's the guy who comes off the bench, and the great thing about him is either he can give Tomlinson a rest, or you can put him in the game, and then you put Tomlinson in the slot, and that creates all kinds of problems for the defense.
Yeah, what it does, you put Tomlinson out, and then they better put someone out there. So if they take the safety and put him out there, or a defensive back, then that doesn't allow that 8th man to get up for the run. So that would make it easier for Michael Turner to run.
Tomlinson, about a yard. He gets to the 14. It's going to be 3rd down and a long 2. Right now, San Diego has run 21 plays in the period. Denver has run 6. They've had 2 3-and-outs.
And the Chargers are very good in this area. It's the red zone to most people. To Marty Schottenheimer and the Chargers, it's a gold zone. But I think to be good in this area, you have to have a good running back. Remember the old Dallas Cowboys with Emmitt Smith? They were so good in the red area. These guys, because of Tomlinson, are special in this red area.
They've scored touchdowns on each of their last 8 thrusts inside the 20. 3rd and 2. And that pass to the outside is caught by Parker, who swung around toward the sideline, covered on the play by Darren Williams. And that will make it a 1st down and goal from the 4-yard line.
Now, how about the timing between Rivers and Eric Parker on this? Watch this ball. It's going to be thrown before Parker even turns around. And when he turns around, that ball is already halfway there. That's when you talk about being on the same page, chemistry, all those things with a quarterback and receiver. We just saw it there.
Waning seconds of the quarter, a drive that began at the San Diego 1. 1st and goal. Tomlinson, 15 touchdowns in his last 5 games, 16 now in his last 5 1/4. LaDainian Tomlinson already this season, 17 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. That is 19 in 9 1/4 games.
And he is something special. And watch his lead block, Lorenzo Neal there. He is going to get his guy, just keep him, and just give Tomlinson that soft corner.
Nate Kading for the point after. And that will make it 7-0. A 99-yard drive, 11 plays, 6 runs, 5 passes. LT to the EZ. 7-0 Chargers. And Mountain. The Chargers have 133 yards, Denver 10 in a 1st quarter that has 8 seconds remaining. Nate Kading to kick off. Mike Bell, the starting running back tonight, will field it at the 1-yard line. And Bell gets out past the 25. He is tackled at the 27, and there's a penalty flag down at the 21-yard line with 1 second remaining on the clock. Penalty will be against Denver, and that will back them up.
Personal foul, face mask, 89 on the return team during the run back. Half the distance to the goal. Receivers will keep the ball. 1st down.
That is Nate Jackson. LaDainian Tomlinson has made it 7-0 San Diego. Indy a week from tonight. You know about Donovan McNabb, torn ACL. Dallas knocking off Indy today, so no unbeaten teams left on this 19th night of November. One of these teams will go to 8-2. The other will be 7-3. It's 7-0 on the final play of the period here. Mike Bell with a penalty flag down will take it out to the 19-yard line. You've got an offside coming up here against San Diego. So they're going to have a choice of a 1st and 5 or a 2nd and 3. Corolla looking over and saying you want to decline it. Plummer saying well, Corolla will tell us what he just said.
Someone's blowing a whistle.
Right.
Offside, defense, number 92. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay 1st down.
So it'll be 1st and 5 when the 2nd period commences. End of 1, San Diego 7. Denver nothing. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. A play here going this way. It's an untimed down on a penalty at the end of the quarter. And thus it is Bell, and he will pick up the 1st down. That was a 1st and 5. And now the 1st quarter has officially climaxed as Bell takes the ball over the 20. Shanahan's team 1st and 10 when we come back and start the 2nd quarter. This time we promise.
The last unbeaten have been beaten.
And McNabb is slow getting up. He must really be injured.
Some of the headlines as we conclude the 11th week of the season. All of the byes are done. Each team playing their 11th game today, or 10th of the season today for both of these teams, as Plummer starts the 2nd quarter by getting sacked That was Ryan Bingham who comes in, and Bingham is only in the game because Césaire went out of the game a moment ago. Andrea, what's the injury update?
Well, with Jack Césaire, who you just mentioned, they're looking at his left ankle on the sideline. Now, as for Sean Phillips, who's been out a couple of series, they have been checking out his calf. They massaged him. They've gone over it a couple of times. So it's just amazing that the Charger defense continues to be depleted.
Sort of reminds us of the Giants last week, who played very well against the Bears in the first half, and then the attrition took its toll. Second down and 11 from the 22-yard line. Plummer over the middle, and that pass is incomplete. He went for the number 3 receiver. That's Brandon Marshall, a rookie out of the University of Central Florida, and he was covered on the play by Terrence Keel. It'll be 3rd and 11.
Yeah, the Broncos went 3 wide receivers. They had Steven Alexander in the backfield, and then he went in motion and split out, so it gave him a 4 wide receiver look. Plummer had good time in there, and he led Brandon Marshall right where he had to be. Marshall has to make that play.
Plummer has yet to complete a pass. 0 for 5. It's 3rd down and 11 from the 21-yard line. Blitz from the outside. He has to dump it off for Bell. Nice screen there, and that'll be a 1st down. So they pay the price for blitzing as Plummer reads it, gets the pass away quickly, and with a couple of blockers, that is a gain of 13 yards and a 1st down off a 3rd and 11.
Well, you just said he hadn't completed a pass, and when you have to help your quarterback sometimes to get him started, and this is one way to get him started on a screen pass, and Plummer did a good job. Invite the rush, let him get right there, and then dump it off to your back.
Stephen Cooper couldn't get there in time. Bell made the catch.
And then after he made the catch, he just ran downhill, and that's what Mike Shanahan always liked about Mike Bell.
Now Damian Nash comes into the game. He's the running back. This is him. And Damian Nash, who had been on the practice squad until last week, takes the ball all the way to the San Diego 40-yard line. So with Tatum Bell hurt, Mike Bell gets the start. They give him a break. And then Damian Nash, who'd been in the Tennessee camp, played his college football at Missouri, picks up a 1st down, 26-yard run.
And this is what they were worried about, that he was cutting back too soon, that you have to take it to the hole, press the line of scrimmage, and then cut back. Nash cut back perfectly that time.
Injury timeout here.
Coach.
Field, Stephen Cooper replaces him. Jacques Césaire comes back into the game. And the ball is handed off to Damian Nash, who just broke that run. Nash played 4 games for Tennessee last year, had been on Denver's practice squad, and now in the lineup tonight.
And again, one thing when you take a guy off the practice squad, he looks good in practice, and Mike Shanahan puts a lot of credit on that, but you still don't know how he's going to do in the game. And the thing that they worried about Nash, as I was saying, is that he was always looking for the cutback, and he would start his cutback before he got to the hole, but on that one cutback, he got to the hole. That was a perfect cutback.
Shanahan donning reading glasses for the first time. Went to those a couple of weeks ago. They give it to Nash again. And Nash takes the ball to the 34. Mike has 20/15 vision at distance, but all of a sudden he was having trouble reading. So I'm in his office before the game tonight. I said, "Is that a prescription?" He said, "No, it's $6 at the drugstore."
He said his wife just didn't want him because he only wears them when his offense is on the field, because when the defense is there, obviously he doesn't need his play sheet. And his wife didn't want him to get one of those ropes, that you tie the glasses on.
Well, Marty's worn glasses for years.
Yeah, but Marty's deal is he doesn't wear the headset all the time. I mean, Marty's like half headset on, half headset off.
3rd and 2, a long 2. And this is Mike Bell, and he appears to have the 1st down. Randall Godfrey, the ex-Cowboy, makes the tackle. They'll move the chains. 1st down at the 29-yard line.
And the thing that this offensive line does so well, better than anyone else, is watch just how they zone block here, how they all get off together and work as one. The whole group. You see how they all move to the right, then they get a good lead block, and that's enough push to get a 1st down. But this is a very good offensive line, a very good middle of the offensive line. They're the best zone blockers in football with the run.
Over the years, it's held up since the days when Alex Gibbs was their offensive line coach. The ball at the 25 from Bell. And John, as we all know, I mean, through the years, it doesn't matter who you plug in. They had Terrell Davis, who was tremendous, of course, but then Mike Anderson and guys like Olandis Gary. And no matter who they plugged in, they always seemed to get 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, sometimes even 1,400 or 1,500.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, they just felt it was a system, because it's not only who they plugged in at the running back, but who they plug in the offensive line. I mean, they have a rookie free agent left tackle, Eric Pierce, who's doing a real good job. They have a veteran, Adam Meadows, who's just starting for his second game, but they play well together.
Pierce taking the place of Matt Lepsis, who got hurt, is out for the year. Now Javon Walker, who's been their big play guy, the former Green Bay Packer, who's had some huge plays to lead the wins over New England and Pittsburgh, makes the catch, spins out of a tackle, and moves the chains. Walker, who was hurt last year, knee surgery, came over here. Take a look at that. Some of the plays he's made, that 83-yard reception against New England and that 72-yard run early on against Pittsburgh to help win a game at Heinz Field. And there you go, players with 70-yard touchdown runs and catches in one season since 2000, both playing tonight, Walker and Tomlinson. At the 12. Up back, first man through to the fullback. This is Kyle Johnson, and he takes it to the 5-yard line. So playing the Lorenzo Neal role. He picks up about 7.
You know, don't you feel that sometimes you just need a play to get you going? And Jake Plummer needed that, and that play was that screen pass. He hadn't completed a pass. Boom, he goes to the screen, and that gets him going. Now, the next thing he has to do is start getting Javon Walker involved in the game, and he just did that.
They'll bring the big stud Williams back in the middle here, 2nd down and 3.
They need Williams now, but one thing about this Denver Bronco offensive line, we're talking about their zone, they also cut very well.
And 2nd and 3, the handoff to Bell, and he appears to be just slightly shy of the first down. This drive began back at Denver's 12-yard line. We talked about San Diego and how proficient they are in the red zone. And so is Denver. 13 and 21, 3rd best in the league.
And didn't you always feel that Mike Shanahan was one of the best play callers in football?
Absolutely.
You know, and as you say, I mean, assistant coaches change, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, quarterbacks, running backs, but the one constant here with the Broncos has been Mike Shanahan.
3rd and a short 1. Mike Bell, touchdown Denver. After San Diego goes 99, the Broncos answer with an 88-yard drive.
Hey, he wasn't even active last week. Watch his right side here. Here's Carlisle. Here's Meadows. Watch, they just double, and that's the block that gets the play started. Boom, boom. They get on them, then they get up on the next level, and that was enough to get Mike Bell in the end zone. I mean, that's what these linemen do. They'll start on a double, but they don't stay with it. They come up and get the linebacker on that 2nd level.
Jason Elam converts. 8:17 remaining in the half. First place in the AFC West at stake. 7-7. The Eagles hang on in the NFC East. You know they'll be rooting like crazy for Jacksonville against the Giants tomorrow. Philly 5-5. Indy comes in 9-1, losing to Dallas today. A yard into the end zone, Michael Turner will run it out. And Turner with a good run back, still going, breaking tackles all the way out to the 37-yard line with 8 minutes and 8 seconds remaining in the opening half. 7-all.
He's an icon. You know, so many kids like myself looked up to him growing up. And just to be mentioned in the same breath with him, and now having the chance to break some of his records, it's unreal.
LaDainian Tomlinson talking about history and writing some of his own this season. And here is Tomlinson, and Tomlinson, who's closing in on 1,000 yards, is up to the 43-yard line. Broke out of a John Lynch tackle LaDainian was 16 in his last 6 games, the most in NFL history over that span. And John, with 1 touchdown tonight, he'll be the fastest to 100 in the history of the NFL.
Watch him, and that's the thing that John Lynch is talking about. He said that Tomlinson reminds him of Barry Sanders. He said he used to play Barry Sanders twice a year, and he said he knows what it feels like, and he just felt it right there.
And this time he gets tripped up in the backfield. He can't get out of his own tracks. Ian Gold is there. The fastest to 100 would be Jim Brown and Emmitt Smith. They each did it in their first 93 games. Now LaDainian with 1 tonight, that was his 99th in 89 games, this being the 89th. So he's almost a lock to break that mark. 3rd down and 3, among some others as well.
The Broncos are in nickel, and they have Dominic Foxworth. When they get in nickel, he plays Antonio Gates.
Play clock at 1, and Rivers the pump fake, and then deep down the sideline, and that pass is not caught inbounds as Vincent Jackson was there. It's incomplete. He was on the chalk, never had possession. Champ Bailey and Jerome Cox were there, and San Diego will punt.
Now, you're not going to get a lot on Champ Bailey. I'm surprised that they tried this. You know, if you're going to go deep, I would think maybe you would pick on the other side, maybe try that. I don't know that Champ Bailey, when you need a play, I don't know that Champ Bailey is the guy you try it on. Although Eric Parker almost had that one, didn't he?
Jackson. Yep. Mike Cypher's now to punt. Wobbly spinning kick. Fair caught 16-yard line. That's Darren Williams holding it in there. So Plummer, who led an 88-yard drive, goes back to work from the 16. The game is tied. Back in Denver, Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer. Game tied 7-7, 6:34 remaining in the half. Low scoring, but plenty of offense to this point. Denver starts from the 16-yard line. Toss back to Bell. Gain of about 5. You know, it's kind of a role reversal here, John. I'm thinking a couple of questions right now at this point in the season. Is San Diego's defense good enough to get them to the Super Bowl? And ironically, is Denver's offense good enough to get them? Because the other units are playing very well.
You know, first of all, San Diego's defense tonight wouldn't be. But I think when they get Castillo back and Merriman back, you know they're going to get Merriman back in 2 weeks, probably Castillo back next week. Those are their 2 best defensive players. I think they'll have a chance to beat. Denver's offense, I'm not sure. That depends on how well Jake Plummer plays.
He drops straight back here. He goes deep on 2nd and 6 into double coverage, and Javon Walker looked around and thought he was impeded, but he wasn't. Terrence Keel covering on the play, and Drayton Florence with him as well. 3rd down and 6. But isn't it interesting? I mean, through the years, you've always known about Denver's offense. Now you're talking about their defense. And with San Diego, it could have gone either way, but now the offense is so potent. But what about the other side?
Right, and I think that their defense. Remember when Sean Merriman was playing, and you know they would have him on one side, Phillips on the other side, Castillo inside. They could really put the heat on the quarterback. And remember they did that to Indy last year. And I think once they get these guys back, I think their defense is pretty good.
There's Castillo. He should be back next week when they take on Oakland at home. Denver has taken a timeout. 5:47 to the half. 7-7. The lineup you don't want to miss. That's tomorrow. Deal or No Deal. Then the cheerleader episode of Heroes and Studio 60. That's tomorrow night, primetime right here on NBC. It is 3rd down and 6 for the Denver Broncos at the 20-yard line. Sean Phillips, the Charger linebacker, is back in the locker room. So it's paste and glue on that San Diego defensive side as Plummer goes back and launches one deep, and that is incomplete. And again, he's going for Javon Walker, and staying with him that time is Antonio Cromartie, the #1 draft choice, the rookie out of Florida State.
Yeah, and that's what he was looking for. I mean, Javon Walker is his go-to guy. Javon Walker is his big play guy. And when you get your go-to big play guys single coverage, you want to get the ball to him, and that he went to the right place.
Yeah, his rating is 105 this year when he tries to hit Walker, and 57 is his rating when he goes to everybody else. Paul Ernster to punt. That's a wobbler and a line drive kick that is fair caught by Eric Parker at the San Diego 41. Schottenheimer and Shanahan, they met a lot of times through the years, but they're at his points per game all time. You can see Mike is 4th all time, Marty 33rd. But now Schottenheimer, and again, they started the season with Marty ball, and the fans were upset in San Diego. But right now, his team's scoring about twice as many points as is Denver. Of course, it all began with that Sunday night game with Pittsburgh when they really took the training wheels off.
Right, and if you give Mike Shanahan, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Phillip Rivers, he might do the same thing.
Play fake, Rivers over the middle, that pass is high, and Lynch almost intercepted it after the deflection. Keenan McCardell was the intended receiver.
You know, somewhere here he's going to have to get his tight end Antonio Gates involved. I think that, you know, he's looking for the wide receivers, he's looking for the big play in the middle, and there's a playmaker too. I mean, his number 1 receiver this season is Tomlinson. His number 2 receiver is Antonio Gates, and he hasn't thrown him one yet tonight. And I think, you know, it's not that hard to get a tight end open. I mean, the way they can move him around, play action pass, crossing, those kinds of things, I think he has to get him in the game now.
It'll be sooner than later. 2nd and 10. And that pass is caught, and taking it out of bounds is Parker, stretching for the extra yard or two. I mean, the minute you mentioned it last week with Jeremy Shockey, who caught a pass.
Well, and Gates would have scored a touchdown if he would have thrown it to him on that one. I mean, you know, he's a good move guy, and sometimes when you have a tight end that makes moves, you have to give him that extra beat to make that move. Gates made a move that time, and he would have been wide open in the middle of the field.
3rd down and 2. Tomlinson goes out of the game on 3rd and 2. That means Michael Turner is in the backfield. And this is Turner, and he will not get the first down. Ian Gold, who missed last week's game with a hamstring pull, is there, and Ekuban as well.
And that's right, and that's why he's not going to get the first down, because Ian Gold was there. Again, we always talk about this, you know, short yardage or running game penetration. Ian Gold is going to get it. He gets it in the backfield before Michael Turner can get. See, he gets him right there before he can get to the line of scrimmage.
Now Mike Cyphers to punt. Darren Williams back to return it. Fair catch called for. 14-yard line. 38-yard boot. Day winding down. Some of the things that have happened today. The Cowboys beat Indianapolis 21-14 behind Tony Romo. Indy now 9-1. Cincinnati rebounding after that disaster last week, knocking off Drew Brees and the Saints 31-16 despite a 510-yard passing performance by the ex-Charger, and Buffalo wins at the end, knocking off the Texans 24-21.
So that Cincinnati defense got Brees this week, and they have Phillip Rivers last week.
That's right. But at least they won today. Damian Nash is the running back. They fake to him. Plummer steps up. Some old snake moves from his days at Arizona State before Igor Olshansky runs him down from behind at the 19-yard line.
That was a heck of an effort by Olshansky. When you can be the right defensive end or the end on the opposite side and come all the way across the field and catch Jake Plummer from behind, that's a big play. Olshansky is up here, and he's going to run around, and then he's going to come from behind and catch Jake Plummer. That is what they call second effort.
6'6", 309. The one-time Oregon Duck Igor Olshansky. And this is Nash fighting off the first would-be tackle. Jamal Williams was able to penetrate there, and it will be 3rd down and 4 now with 3:20 to go in the half.
Yeah, and that's why it's so tough to run against this Charger defense. It all starts here with Jamal Williams and the penetration that he gets. You see, and you're talking about eating up blockers, he eats up 3 blockers, and that allows all the other white jerseys to get there.
Eating up is a good way to put it.
That's not all he eats up, is his blocker. But to me, he's the most dominating nose tackle in football today.
Makes it a lot easier to play that 3-4. Timeout is taken here by Denver prior to a 3rd down and 4. Under 3 to go in the half. Broncos finally got it accomplished after years and years at the old Mile High. This stadium opening in the 2001 season.
I'll tell you, that old Mile High was a very difficult place to play. They had the south stands, and the visiting locker room was under the south stands. And you would go, you know, call up the whole team to give your pregame speech, and they would start pounding, boom, 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 and you couldn't hear a thing. You couldn't talk. No one could hear you. Nothing. And then you would go out, and they'd start throwing school balls at you because you had to go out right underneath them.
3rd down and 4 as Plummer throws, and that is a fingertip catch by Brandon Marshall. Over the 50 he goes to the 40-yard line, and the flag comes in at the end of the play. But Brandon Marshall, a rookie out of Central Florida, their 4th-round draft choice, has ascended to the number 3 spot. Clinton Hart is shaken up on the play. 40-yard catch and run.
And Brandon Marshall is one of those big targets you have now in football. 6'4", 222 pounds. Tell you, Mike Shanahan really likes him, and a quarterback like Jake Plummer, you can see him all the way, and when he gets in the middle, you can really see him. But he is a big guy.
Illegal block in the back, number 84, offense, 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
You know, here's Brandon Marshall here, and you see how big he is and how strong he is, and he has a quickness that goes with it. And then when he gets his shoulder inside and gets even, then he can run that in. And then you're going to see Javon Walker somewhere in there comes in and fouls.
And that's a foul from the spot, so a good part of the play counts. They move it back to the 43. There's your foul, so they get the 1st down, but they move it back to the Denver 43-yard line.
That was a kind of a picky foul, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You got to let, I mean, this is football, and you have to let some things go. That wasn't a block that was going to hurt anyone or do anything or affect anything in the play.
Sometimes it's the imagery. Screen for Nash. Over the 50 he goes, and he pulls his way for a 1st down. When I say imagery, I mean the game is played so fast, and if you've ever been on the field or on the sideline during a game, I mean it goes by in a blur, and you have to give it to the officials. I mean, hand it to them. They can't get everything perfectly as the 2-minute warning comes, and sometimes it looks as if it's more insidious than it is.
You know, and you wish, you know, if there's any doubt, just don't call it. Just let them play.
2-minute warning. Broncos at the Charger 44 when we come back. At a halftime show coming up from just outside the 30 Rock skating ring. Bob, Chris, Sterling, and Jerome get you all caught up. Dallas winning, knocking Indy off its perch for the first time this year. Donovan McNabb done for the year, and all of a sudden things a little hotter in the AFC. Baltimore just a game back of Indy, as will the winner of this game. Just one game back in the overall AFC standings as Nash breaks one again inside the 25 to the 23. So Damian Nash, who played in 4 games with Tennessee, had been on Denver's practice squad, activated last week, and he's been a stud tonight. 22 yards here, and Nash has already run for 55 yards this evening.
Right, and the Broncos are going no huddle, and maybe you can put anyone back there.
From the 22. This is Nash again, and he rambles to the 11-yard line. Tackled there by Quentin Jammer.
Yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
You know, you had to get the Nash. I couldn't help myself. You remember the Nash ramble. We've got an injury here. Yes, you do. Marlon McCree, the safety who came over from Carolina, is hurt. So again, another San Diego defensive injury.
First charge timeout.
Boy, they are getting depleted, and Marlon McCree is really the kind of the leader of this defense now.
Look at Nash, and Nash looking up at the board to watch himself gain 22.
One thing about Nash, he does finish those runs. You know, and that's what you're always looking for.
Jammer made the tackle, but McCree is still
Please
down.
reset the play clock to 25 seconds.
Mike Shanahan felt by not suiting up Tatum Bell tonight, by keeping him active, that he'll be okay to play on Thursday. He felt if he would have played tonight, you know, and wasn't ready, he couldn't help him, and then he wouldn't have him Thursday either. But by going with Bell and Nash tonight, then he thinks on Thursday he'll have Tatum Bell, Mike Bell, and Damian Nash.
Well, I mean, it's solid and sound thinking when you think about it. You know, you've got 2 games in 4 days. Go to the left side of the screen to see McCree. He's number 20, and he tries to avoid Clinton Hart, and then goes down, and it's the right knee.
You know, you always imagine a knee as, you know, someone having their foot planted and getting hit, or one of those types of things, and that was really no contact. It was just kind of, if any contact, he just tripped over his own guy.
So first down when we come back. Marty with Marcus Harris on the sideline. Jake Plummer, slow start tonight, but then a couple of big plays for him. They went 88 yards. You had Mike Bell getting into the end zone. Phillip Rivers tonight has been held pretty much in check, though he did lead him on that 99-yard march, culminated by the LaDainian Tomlinson touchdown, the 99th of his career. Standings in this division coming in: Denver and San Diego, each 7-2. Kansas City had its hands full today, but knocked off Oakland with a late touchdown, and then Oakland had a chance to maybe win it at the end, and there was an interception by the Chiefs. And McCree, in a scene that has to be very disheartening to any San Diego fan, helped off the field, and Bao Ju, the ex-Packer, will have to come in and take his spot at strong safety.
I tell you, the Charger defense in his first half is really getting depleted, but I will say this group here, oops, not that group, the offensive line of the Denver Broncos has been doing an outstanding job. They are dominating on this drive.
Sean Phillips, the linebacker, is back, and here goes Bell inside the 5 to the 4. The undrafted rookie who played all 4 years at Arizona. Very few guys, of course, spend all 4 years and then wind up in the NFL as a starter, but Mike did.
Yeah, I would think right now, you know, Jacques Cesaire isn't Jamal Williams, and when you get someone like that, they get him not only stood up, they get him going back, and then they get him turned around to where he came from. And now Jamal Williams is back in. I would think anytime anyone gets inside the red zone, Jamal Williams has to be in there on rundowns.
2nd and 2. Bell again. Bell for the touchdown. An 86-yard drive. So Mike Bell, who led the Wildcats in each of his 4 years in Tucson, undrafted, comes in here, impressive in training camp, doesn't start though at the beginning of the year. They go with Tatum Bell, but he gets the start tonight, and Mike Bell has now run for 44 yards, and both Denver scores.
Yeah, right, it can be backs, but I'll tell you, this drive was really the offensive line dominating the Charger defense.
His 5th rushing touchdown of the season, leading all rookies. Elam for the point after, and the Denver Broncos have 193 total yards in the half, and with 34 ticks left on the clock, the Broncos are on top 14-7.
You know, we're going to see here what this Bronco run game is all about. It's a zone. You see all 5 offensive linemen working in concert. The running back making one cut and then run downhill. That's what it is. Zone blocking, everyone take off together, one cut downhill. That is a pretty thing because there's not an onside and an offside. It's both sides. Every man, that whole offensive line has to work together or there wouldn't be any cutback. It may be play side. Play side was left side, but it ended up a touchdown right side.
John, they've been so successful doing it just that way for so many years. Why can't more teams emulate what they did as McCree gets carted off?
Because I think the problem is with a smaller offensive line. You have to have a smaller offensive line. You have to have a small center. You have to have smaller guards. And they have trouble in drop back pass protection. So you have to give up a little, and you have to have, and I'm surprised that Jake Plummer hasn't gone to bootlegs and stuff like that yet. But it's hard. You will get a push on your defense, on your offense up the middle.
So what you need a mobile quarterback basically to go with that.
Right, right. If you have that, then you have to have a mobile quarterback or a quarterback with a quick release. But you are going to get pushed in the middle on pass protection.
Aloha, John Elway. Here's Cromartie, the rookie out of Florida State, who runs it back to the 22-yard line with 29 seconds. The Chargers were the highest scoring offense in the league. The Broncos had allowed the fewest points, 33 for San Diego per game, only 12.3 allowed by Denver. It's the first time since 1997, when San Francisco met Denver on a Monday night, that a team with the most points scored had played a team with the fewest points allowed this late in the season. And Shanahan remembers that game. Marty Schottenheimer. Been a house of horrors for him. He's 3-13 lifetime in this stadium, plus 0-1 in postseason. And Rivers swings it out to Tomlinson, but that is incomplete.
And we asked him last night what it was, if there's anything in those games or any constant anything. And he said vehemently, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the altitude. Which means it probably is the altitude.
Which means I don't want anybody to use that as an excuse, so don't even think about it.
Yeah, but they remind you of that. I mean, there's a sign, and there's always been a sign here. You know, as you come out of your locker room, there's a sign that reminds you of Mile High.
Second down and 10 at the 22. And that'll be a sack at the 16-yard line. Ebenezer Ekubon wraps up Phillip Rivers. And the clock should now tick down to the end of the half. So Rivers is 8 of 13, and they've limited him to 74 yards. Bell's run for 2 touchdowns. Bob Costas and the gang standing by for the Toyota halftime report coming your way from New York. 14-7 Broncos at the break. Toyota halftime show coming up the second half. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer. Up to the moment, the standings in the AFC West. The winner of this game goes to 8-2. The loser goes to 7-3. And then Kansas City right there just behind. Denver 14, San Diego 7. Broncos Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They prepare for their Thursday night game, Thanksgiving night, at Kansas City. San Diego goes home to face Oakland. Denver will get the ball, Kading to kick off, and here we go from Denver, third quarter. This will be Cecil Sapp running back the kick. And the Denver fullback, looking more like a scat back, runs it back into San Diego territory, all the way to the 48-yard line.
Well, if he would have had speed, that would have been a touchdown. You know, the first thing you do is on a kickoff return, you want to get into the wedge. There's a wedge. They're all holding hands. Get into the wedge and then break right through the wedge, as Sapp did there. And then right here you have one guy and you have to outrun him. He makes a good move there, and then when you know you can't run, when you know you don't have speed, is when you're running forward, looking backward, putting both hands on the ball. You know you're about to get caught.
53-yard run back. Antonio Cromartie, who finally ran him down. Now on a short field, this is Mike Bell taken down after a gain of 2 by Jamal Williams. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, I talked to Marty Schottenheimer coming out of the locker room, and he seemed pretty shell-shocked about how depleted his defense is. Marlon McCree and Sean Phillips both have calf injuries. He said he hopes they're going to be able to go back in. He said they have to play more physical, but at this point, he's just hoping to get 11 guys out there on the field. And as John mentioned, he said they have to get the ball to Antonio Gates on offense.
Well, they are both back, and I'm stunned because McCree was helped off the field, and that looked like it could have been serious, but there he is.
They can do amazing. Yes. I was going to say they can do amazing stuff in the locker room at halftime.
Wow. On 2nd and 7, this is Mike Bell, stopped by Jacques Césaire, who also missed a few plays when he was hurt in the first half. It'll be 3rd down and 5. Some numbers now through 30 minutes of competition. Denver racking up 193 yards, so on a pace for close to 400 yards. And last week, of course, it was Carson Palmer who threw for over 400 alone for Cincinnati, but the miracle comeback by San Diego, the great offensive performance by Rivers and company, won the game for the Chargers. 3rd down and 4. Plummer, short drop, quick flip, over the middle, caught, and that's the venerable Rod Smith making the catch, and that's the first catch of the game for Rod in his 12th year at a Missouri Southern.
Yeah, you always think about Jake Plummer and running and bootlegging and that stuff, but he also has a very quick release. I mean, Rod Smith comes in a slant, and there's a hole there between the 2 corners, and he's just going to hit him right there. He just waits, and then he has him, and then, boom, that ball was right out of there.
Rod Smith, second oldest wide receiver in the league. The oldest is on the other side, Keenan McCardell. First down from the 30-yard line. Now they give it to Nash. They've been going with Mike Bell and Damian Nash tonight, with Tatum Bell inactive. Short gain. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
Yeah, so Carlos Polk is also back. He just made that tackle. So the Chargers are starting to get some of those guys back now. And you think the running game of the Broncos, what the Chargers on defense have to do is they have to take away that cutback, because they have that zone blocking and they're running it, whole side and then breaking back, and they're giving them those cutback lanes. And on that one there, Carlos Polk, the outside linebacker, took away the cutback lane.
So Jamal Williams spreading his wings. 2nd down and 9. Nash is the running back. Quick throw to the outside. This is caught by Javon Walker, and a nice tackle by Sean Phillips, who drags him down from the rear at the 24-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 4 for the Broncos, the beneficiaries of that 53-yard Cecil Sapp run back of the kickoff.
I'm sure this is one of the things, Al, that they talked about at halftime. How are we going to get the ball to Javon Walker? They lined him up on the left side, brought him all the way across the formation, and then just threw it. That's a wide receiver screen. You just throw him the ball, and the screen develops in front of him on the wide side of the field.
Comes back off ACL surgery. The former Packer traded to Denver in the offseason. 3rd down and 4. Nash stopped just about the line of scrimmage. So right now you're looking at about a 42-yard field goal for a kicker who could someday wind up in the Hall of Fame. I mean, his numbers, Jason Elam's numbers, have been that good.
Yeah, he's a great one. But watch what the Charger defense does right here. They take away the cutback. You see, instead of going that way, they just penetrated on that backside so that he had no place to cut back to.
Jason Elam has spent all 14 of his seasons in this league with the Broncos. Played his college football at Hawaii. Drafted in the 3rd round in '93. Jake Plummer to hold. 42-yard boot is good. So Sapp sets him up with that run back. And the Denver Broncos trying to move into first in the AFC West. Extend their lead to 10. Well, we're getting you ready for Thursday. What do you think, John?
Well, I think happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And just kind of goes together, doesn't it? Turkey and all that stuff, and professional football, and to me, it's always one of the great days of the year.
Turkey and all that stuff, Ing.
Right, and then now we have 3 football games, 3 NFL games that day. I think it's tough to get a lot better than that.
Yep. Don't the Broncos know that? They go to Kansas City, and that'll be a big game on the NFL Network on Thursday night. And our best wishes to the NFL Network in their new venture, as that is down in the end zone. And San Diego starts from the 20-yard line, aligning the stars now for Phillip Rivers. 8 out of 13, and that 1 interception off the deflection led them on a 99-yard drive. Tomlinson scored the touchdown, and oddly enough, not only has Gates not caught a pass, he's not been thrown to.
Yeah, and they have to know that. It's part the quarterback, it's part Gates getting open, it's part the protection, but it's also part of coaching. I mean, you have to find a way to get the ball to your guy.
Start with 4 wides here on 1st down. from the 20-yard line, and Rivers will sling it to the outside, and they read that play perfectly. That's Champ Bailey hitting Antonio Gates, so they go to Gates, and Bailey is right on him.
That was one of the ideas, but it wasn't a very good one, was it? They split it out like the 4 wide receiver look at Antonio Gates as the outside guy. He's way out here, and they're just going to give him the ball and let him run over Champ Bailey. Well, by the time he got the ball, Champ Bailey was right there again. I don't know if I want to get the ball to Antonio Gates. I don't know that I really want to work on Champ Bailey.
No. Tomlinson stopped by Michael Myers. Champ Bailey came over, of course, in that deal for Clinton Portis, that huge 1-for-1 trade. His given name is Roland. His brother plays for Detroit, Boss Bailey. His given name is Rodney. The parents, they started calling one kid Champ and one kid Boss. And that's how they got their nicknames.
Once you do the Champ, you just can't have Champ and regular name. You got to go Boss.
3rd down and 6 at the 24-yard line. 9.5 to play in the 3rd quarter. Gold showed blitz. Backs into coverage. Rivers to the outside. It's picked off by Darren Williams. Darren Williams for the touchdown. Rivers had been picked off 3 times all season, and that's twice tonight.
Well, you know, these Denver corners, they play, look, they have their back to the sideline, looking in at the quarterback. This is just a zone. Darren Williams is going to bump the outside receiver, ride him, look back in at Rivers, and he sees Rivers all the way. Look, he's just sitting there. I mean, it's a bad decision by Rivers, and he's just throwing right into full zone coverage. It was a good play by Darren Williams because he was, in essence, really playing 2.
Elam for the point after. And just like the late 70s when they went to the Super Bowl for the first time and the Orange Crush led them, the D in Denver stands for defense 24/7. Darren Williams has been bothered with a bum shoulder, but you'd never know it on that play. And Rivers going over the pictures with Cam Cameron, the offensive coordinator. And San Diego will get the ball back, but down now 24-7 as Ernster's kick is taken at the 1-yard line by Michael Turner. And Turner trying to ignite something with a good run back, and he's able to give it to him up to the 39-yard line with 9:15 left in the quarter. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Now let's watch the technique that they use first. Here's Darren Williams here. Here's Champ Bailey. You see, they both have that same technique where they have the back to the sideline, both looking in at the quarterback. Now they're going to play zone. As we let it go, you see Darren Williams down here. He lets the receiver go. He lets the outside receiver go up to here. He lets him go, and then he picks him as he's coming out. Now, Philip Rivers thought that he would run off with the deep guy. He doesn't. He stays there for the short guy, and that's what Philip Rivers was talking to Cam Cameron about. You know, I thought he was going to run with the outside guy. He started to run with the outside guy and stopped and came with the short outside guy.
First time Rivers has been intercepted in the second half of any game this year. Out of the shotgun, a little screen for Tomlinson. And LaDainian Tomlinson across the 50. That's a first down. And John, without reading minds or lips, I would have to think the feeling might be on the San Diego bench, if nothing else. Hey, guys, we were here last week. We were down by 21 at Cincinnati. And you know what happened?
And I'm sure that's what Marty Schottenheimer is telling him right now. The same thing that he told him last week. He said at halftime, I told him, look, let's just go out and play 0-0. I don't care what happens this second half, but let's go out and win the second half. And in doing that, then they won the game. Now I think they have to take it from this point and say, okay, 24-7, let's take it from this point like it's 0-0 and just win from this point on.
First and 10 at the 46-yard line. Rivers, the fake draw, buys time, stepping up. He'll carry himself, but not very far. Offensive coordinator is Cam Cameron, who was the head coach at Indiana in the late 90s. He had Antoine Randall as his quarterback. Cam was a quarterback at Indiana. He also played basketball in the early 80s. His coach, of course you got it, Bob Knight. And Bob Knight recommended Cam Cameron to Bo Schembechler when Bo was at Michigan, and that's how Cam started his coaching career.
Yeah, and then Cam Cameron coached for Bo Schembechler for 10 years, and Bo Schembechler just passed away the other day, and no matter what kind of football, high school, college, pro football, Bo Schembechler was one of the all-time greats.
Huge influence, huge. 2nd and 9. Rivers stepping away, then throws, and that pass is caught by Vincent Jackson, who just juggled for a moment. He thinks he has the first down, but he does not. They're going to spot the ball just outside the 41-yard line. It will be 3rd down. Elvis Doomerville popped him.
Yeah, that's what I like about Philip Rivers, though, is when he decides to throw it, he is going to zip it. I mean, he has time. He waits, and then he really put the mustard on that one to Vincent Jackson.
3rd and 1. Rivers, after resetting the slot, he gives the ball to Neal, and Neal gets upended by Wilson, but not until Lorenzo picks up another first down. They love to go to him on 3rd and 4th and 1, and normally he prevails.
Yeah, because they don't like to go to the tailback who's back 7 yards. And on that one, they went unbalanced line. This is interesting. They have a guard, then they have a tackle, and their right tackle they bring from here over to here. So they have, on this side, they have center, guard, tackle, tight end. And that's their power side, and they ran to the unbalanced or power side or the 2 tackle side.
1st and 10 at the 35-yard line on a big drive for San Diego, down by 17 and trying to climb back. To the outside goes the pass, and that is caught by Eric Parker. Parker gets inside the 25-yard line. They're going to spot the ball at the 20, tackled by Champ Bailey.
You know, when you go unbalanced, what you can do is you can get both your big tackles on the same side of the line of scrimmage. And then when you can get the tight end, that's about as much power as you can get on one side, where you have your left tackle, McNeil, and then you bring your right tackle over next to him, and then you run in behind him on short yardage. They'll also do it in the red zone. They'll also do it on goal line. They'll also do it against nickel.
Empty the backfield. Cam Cameron, one of the few offensive coordinators who calls the plays from the field. And this play is called to Antonio Gates, and he'll make it a 1st and goal at the 3. Most teams have the offensive coordinator upstairs. Then he'll call down to normally the quarterback's coach. He'll call the play in, but Cameron calls the play directly in from the sideline to Rivers.
And there's Antonio Gates. He was the 2nd guy in, and this is what he does so well. You know, he just runs that option route. He goes up on the guy, and then he gives him a move one way and goes the other way. If he's inside, he goes outside. If he's outside, he goes inside.
Will Tomlinson get his 100th career touchdown? He has 99. He has 100. Fastest to 100 in history. LaDainian Tomlinson into the end zone for the 2nd time tonight and for the 20th time this season. And San Diego is back in the game.
You know, you look at LaDainian Tomlinson there, and this is the way you should celebrate. I mean, you get a record, you get a ball. I mean, you have all those things, your jump cut, the moves, the good blocking. But you know what I like about this guy, Al, is as great a player he is, and he's a great player. I know we use that term too much. He is equally as good a guy. I mean, this guy is something special. I mean, he's a great player, but he's also a great guy.
He comes off the field. Nick Hardwick, the center, who has been hurt in the last couple of weeks. Hardwick is still down on his knee, and that would be a big loss, obviously, in the middle of the line with Corey Withrow as his backup.
Well, he hurt his ankle last week against Cincinnati, and I didn't think there was any way that he'd come back in that game. He finished the game, missed 1 day of practice this week. It looks like it was that same ankle that he got rolled up in Cincinnati last week.
John, you're exactly right about Tomlinson. He has a great sense of where he is and who he is, and you never read or hear anything really untoward about him. Solid citizen.
You know, and that's big. You know, I mean, not every great player, and sometimes we tend to make it, not every great player is a great guy. Right. Not every great player is even a good guy. So when you get something like this, and you get, a great player who is also a great guy, then you're so happy when he breaks records, when he does things. like Tomlinson is doing this year.
The guy he was sitting next to falls into that category too in McCardell. Nate Kading for the extra point. So that was a big drive for the San Diego Chargers. They were down by 17. Now all of a sudden it's back to 10. 5:10 left in the third. Tonight show this week. They work on Keenan McCardell's foot or ankle. Rewrap that. Denver leading 24-14. A little more than 5 to go in the third. Nate Kading, a guy they picked up as part of that Manning Rivers transaction in the 04 draft. The draft choice turning into Kading. Touchback here. Plummer and the offense to work from the 20. 24-14 Broncos.
Sunday night, only the best come to Flex. Next week, Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts battle the Philadelphia Eagles. Every game counts, but only one night matters. NBC's Sunday Night Football.
And from Denver, Sunday Night Football is being brought to you by Wendy's. Get in the middle of flavor. Do Wendy's new double melt and do what tastes right. Broncos up by 10. Start from the 20-yard line on this drive. Fake the end around to Walker after the play fake. And then the pass is deep and tipped away and almost intercepted. That's Antonio Cromartie who was there. Rod Smith going deep downfield. And interestingly, Smith has not caught a pass of more than 19 yards this season, but going deep here.
And that was good defense by the Chargers. You know, that they didn't go for anything. Rod Smith is the inside guy there going deep. But look, the corner goes deep with him, and the safety coming in right there is also. So in essence, by the time the ball got there, Rod Smith was double teamed.
Rod Smith in his dotage right now at the age of 36. He's been their main man for so long, but right now he's the underneath guy with Javon Walker, the normal deep play threat. Second down and 10. Plummer just has to dump it at the line of scrimmage. The pressure was on Carlos Polk, who had to come out of the game as he was injured earlier, but is back in and forced the issue here. Third down.
Yeah, he was trying to get a screen pass out there to the left. And when you get a pressure on the quarterback and then you have the screen guy covered, there's nothing left except to throw it away. But the screen's developing out there to the left, but you can see that the screen is covered. I don't know. Jake didn't try and get it over Olshansky. You know, he could have taken a shot and said, well, I'm going to try and get that screen pass up over that defensive end. But sometimes, as we know, that defensive end will catch it and run it in for a touchdown. Jason Taylor does that about every week, it seems.
Ask Rex Grossman. Third down and 10 from the 20. Fake draw. Plummer flushed out. Throws, tip, and that is incomplete. And speaking of that, how about Derek Robinson right there, the end number 98, fourth down.
Yeah, and that's what Marty's clapping about now, because that's what he wanted to do. You know, is get off the field. I mean, get the defense in there. You know, get off the field, get the ball back to the offense. You see here, the Cesare starts to come from the outside and give him the pressure from the outside, and then Jake kind of has to force that thing in there. You know, more linemen are doing that, realizing that if you don't get there, if you don't get to the quarterback, just get your hand in his lane.
Ernster's punt after a 3-and-out. Eric Parker from the 36. Back to the 43. So 4:41 remaining in the third quarter. Chargers were down by 17. Now it's 10. And now they'll start from near midfield here in Denver. To the second numbers right there. He wears that dark shield. You have to have a doctor's prescription to wear it. And one of the reasons is he's prone to migraines. He now has 17 TDs in his last 6 games, counting this one. 20 in his first 10, on his way to breaking Sean Alexander's NFL record of 28. And the fastest, of course, to 100 career TDs, breaking Emmitt Smith and Jim Brown's record. They co-held it at 93. He did it in 89. And there's plenty of time left in this one. From the 43-yard line, that pass is incomplete. Slant intended for Malcolm Floyd. First time they've gone his way tonight. It'll be second and 10.
You know, and I think that was a big thing that they stayed with LT. I think that, you know, that Mike Shanahan said one of the things we do here in Denver is we seem to get ahead of them, and that takes Tomlinson out of the game. They did get ahead. They got ahead 24-7 But the Chargers were smart. They didn't let that take LaDainian Tomlinson and the run out of the game, and I think they have to stay the same way now. They got plenty of time. They don't have to go to pass every down.
They have 19.5 minutes coming off a game in which they scored 42 points in the second half last week. That's a slant, and this one is caught by Malcolm Floyd. So they run the same play again, and this time he makes the catch, and we check in with Andrea.
Well, obviously, we saw that LaDainian Tomlinson broke one of Jim Brown's records. I talked to Brown this week, and he said he's welcome to all of them. And one reason is that he's so impressed with him as a person and a player. LaDainian sought out and met Jim Brown when the Chargers played the Browns a couple of weeks ago. Brown told me that LT is more than a great running back. He's a great football player, and actually compared him to Marcus Allen in terms of his all-around ability. And he said a guy like that today is a breath of fresh air.
Amen. 3rd and 3, and that pass is caught by Tomlinson. And here goes touchdown number 101. So once again, we talked about LaDainian. Out of the backfield, you know what he can do. You split him out as a receiver, you know what he can do. And he's also thrown 5 touchdown passes in his career. He scored 4 last week. He has 3 tonight. That's 51 yards on a 3rd and 3.
Right, and that's what Jim Brown was talking about. I mean, LaDainian Tomlinson can do it all. He's not just a runner. He'll run, he'll block, he'll catch deep, and he'll also throw the ball.
And that has completely silenced this crowd in excess of 75,000 at Invesco Field.
It sure has. I mean, he just came out of the backfield, went right up the seam.
It's a pin drop here. Kading for the point after. So it was 24-7 not that long ago. Now it's Denver 24, San Diego 21.
But he's going to come out of the backfield right here and shotgun and just run right up the seam. So he has the two wide receivers outside. One comes inside. LaDainian Tomlinson just goes right up the seam. That was a zone dog there. They had the pressure coming. Rivers sees him. He comes right now. Ecubon was on him. He gets away from Ecubon and runs right past Champ Bailey. Ebenezer Ecubon, the defensive end. That's what a zone dog is. You dog one side, and then you drop the defensive end on the other side. Of course, Ebenezer Ecubon on LaDainian Tomlinson is no match at all, is it?
He's had his problems in Denver, but not tonight. Mentioned that you can split him out. He wasn't split out on that play, of course, in the shotgun, flanking Rivers. But you don't know what to do with him there if you're the defense. Either you can run him on an inside give, you can run him on a curl as he did right there. He can stay in the block, which he does with such proficiency as well. 3 touchdowns tonight and a 3-point game. Now Cecil Sapp is back to return the kick. He had a 53-yarder at the outset of the second half, which led to a Jason Elam field goal.
And he's moving around back there, you know, trying to not let Elam know where the ball is going to be, and Kading not know where he's going to be.
And Kading will kick it on a couple of bounces into the end zone, and Sapp will down it there. So Denver starting from the 20 after a 3-and-out. LT.
You know, and just watch the things that he does here. I mean, where he takes the ball, you know, up inside, then bounces it outside, then inside, then runs outside. You know, I mean, he just has, you know, so many moves. But then to go with these moves, he has great speed and strength. And this one here, we saw the runs. Now you need a big play, shotgun, 3rd down, run him on a seam pass. I mean, he can do it all. I mean, there's some guys you try and make up for, but Walter Payton was that guy. I mean, Walter Payton could run it, he could block, he could catch it, he could throw it.
Already a Charger franchise record. Now you got Bell cutting back for a gain of 8. You know, John, I'm thinking about calling him LT, which when I first heard it, I said, no. There's only one LT, and that's Lawrence Taylor. It was tantamount when I heard it to saying, you know, a guy comes into the NBA and you're going to start to call him MJ. No, you're not going to do that. But you know what? He's become LT in his own right.
I think he can be anything he wants. I mean, there's a lot of letters in LaDainian Tomlinson.
That's right.
I think some people do it just for that, so they don't have to go through all the letters.
Good point. If it was Larry Thomas, he'd be Larry Thomas. You're right. This is Bell for a gain of about 5, and that's a 1st down up to the 33-yard line.
And I think the Broncos are in the same position. You can't get away from what you're doing. I mean, just because you know, the Chargers came back. They're not that far back. I mean, you just keep doing what you're doing, who you are. But I think there is some place here where Jake Plummer hasn't run a lot. He hasn't bootlegged a lot. And I think now, you know, the rest of the third quarter and the fourth quarter is if the bootleg is going to be there, it'll be there now.
2.5 remaining in the third quarter. Toss back to Mike Bell, and the undrafted rookie from Arizona up to the 40-yard line, gain of 7. Marlon McCree makes the tackle.
You know, we always talk about this offensive line and how they can get to the second level. Watch the left guard here, Ben Hamilton, how he'll do it. First of all, you come out there on the tackle and you just give him a push, then get to that second level, get to that linebacker, and that's the difference between a 2 or 3 yard gain and a 7 or 8 yard gain.
Second down call at 2 now from the 41-yard line. They give it to Nash, and that's a great tackle at the line of scrimmage. Coming in was Randall Godfrey, the inside linebacker.
And here's the Bronco offensive line, and we'll just look at, you know, we've been talking about the zone blocking, about the linemen getting to the second level. This is all the linemen getting up to the second level, getting those linebackers and defensive backs. And there's no one that does it better than this Bronco middle of the offensive line. The tackles are playing pretty well tonight, too.
Yeah, 2 guys who weren't starting at the beginning of the year. On 3rd down and 2, you have a flag here. Clearly movement along the defensive front. Nash was there. Did Godfrey come across?
I was at practice the other day, and I was looking at that rookie left tackle, undrafted.
Offside, defense, 95, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Sean Phillips.
No, I was looking at 64 there, Eric Piers, and here's a guy who's 6'5", 306 pounds, and is really a good player. And you think, how can he not be drafted? I mean, how can you lose a guy 6'5" and 305 pounds? I mean, he can play. I mean, he was a great high school wrestler, and I've always liked that combination. An offensive lineman that at some point in either high school or college was a wrestler.
And he played his college football right up the interstate in Fort Collins at Colorado State. Randall Godfrey makes the tackle on Nash as we're down to the final minute of the third quarter in a battle for first place in the AFC West.
I think one thing that, you know, Mike Shanahan knows, because we talked earlier about what a good play caller was. In fact, he's calling plays now without the glasses.
I noticed.
I mean, he's calling right off the top of his head, but he knows that 24-21 is not enough. That he's gonna have to score more points. You just can't fold the tent here with just 1 quarter left to go.
Fake to Bell, then the pass to Bell, and staying right with him with the coverage is Donnie Edwards. Donnie Edwards in his 11th year now, played his college ball at UCLA, stellar early part of his career in Kansas City. And that's going to take us down to the end of the third quarter. LT, what a night. End of the third quarter at Invesco Field with the score. The Denver Broncos 24, the San Diego Chargers 21. Sunday Night Football continues after these messages from your local NBC station.
Now, these are digital photos that are coming right out of the printer. And what they do is they have a guy up there who takes 2 pictures, one at the snap and one right after the snap. Then they put it in a notebook, take it out to the sideline, and give it to Coach Mike Shanahan. Then he's looking at it, so he's looking now to see what the Chargers were doing on defense. So he can go first down, second down, third down. He can go back all the way if he wanted to see goal line or short yardage.
And here's the call on 3rd and 5, and then they only get 4. So Mike Bell takes it to the 46 on the first play of the fourth quarter. Denver, the site. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer, and Mike Shanahan now with a decision on a 4th and 1 at the 45-yard line.
Right, and this is a big decision for Mike Shanahan. I think we've always talked about him being an aggressive play caller, and again, knowing that 3 points against this Charger offense now is not enough.
But also knowing against that potent San Diego offense, you don't want to give him a short field.
I think this is a quarterback sneak, but you better get Jamal Williams blocked.
4th and 1. They're going to toss it to the outside to Bell, and Bell's going to be able to get enough of a block before he gets taken down by Polk to pick up the first down. Rod Smith on the outside, and Mike Bell knew exactly what he needed and just did get there.
Right, and that was a perfect call by Mike Shanahan, because I was thinking about going inside a quarterback sneak, but the Chargers had everything packed in the middle. So that's the thing to do, fake in the middle and then pitch it and get it to the outside. Rod Smith right there. I mean, once in a while, a wide receiver does have to get you a block. When it's fourth down, the wide receiver better get you a block.
He engaged Drayton Florence, and that was just enough. Now to the fullback, Sapp, Cecil Sapp, to the 41-yard line. And it will be second down and 9.
Yeah, when we were talking to the Bronco coaches the other day, to Mike Shanahan, he was talking about that maybe not running a lot of bootleg early, but in the second half, maybe get to it. And it looks like that time Jake Plummer handed off to the left, and he faked a bootleg out to the right. And again, I think that we're going to see some bootleg from now on.
Damian Nash is the running back. David Nash and Mike Bell in and out. Second down and 8. Plummer to the outside, and that catch is made because Jammer wasn't looking. Walker makes the catch. Quentin Jammer with his back to the play, and Javon Walker is able to haul it in and move it inside the 20-yard line of the 18.
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Jake Plummer on that one. This is a heck of a throw. I mean, there is a guy that is covered now. I know he's your go-to guy, and you want to get him the ball. Jammer's not looking, and Javon Walker just gets a step beyond him, and Jake Plummer puts the ball right there. That was a gutsy throw by Jake Plummer.
Tremendous concentration as well by Javon Walker, his third catch. And now Marty Schottenheimer may want to challenge this, either for possession or being out of bounds.
San Diego is challenging the ruling on the field that the receiver stepped out of bounds. We'll review the spot.
So Corolla will take a look at it, and we will when we come back.
Hey.
So let's take a look at this, as during the break, after Schottenheimer challenges the call, it's clear he doesn't step out beforehand. He's juggling, but he appears to establish the right foot, the left foot, and then the right foot again. The defensive back gets his hand in there, Drayton or Jammer, but he appears to be inbounds with possession. So I would say the chances of this being overturned are very minimal. There's an oddity here. The referee, Bill Carollo, overturns fewer challenges than any referee in the league.
After reviewing the play, it's been determined the receiver caught the ball inbounds with both feet, and the out-of-bounds spot is the correct spot. San Diego is charged with a timeout.
So Carollo's been under the hood 9 times, hasn't overturned anything. We, of course, leave no stone overturned. Have every fact and figure for you. But he's right that time. Right. There was nothing to overturn.
He was right. I mean, because the questionable foot would be his right foot, and I don't think his right foot ever did go out of bounds. Marty's still talking about that one. That was a big play for the Broncos, and that was, as you say, it was a heck of a catch by Javon Walker, but that was some throw by Jake Plummer.
And there is John Elway, who retired after winning a second consecutive Super Bowl back in 1998.
John Elway would have made that throw, and the same throw, and he would have thrown it so hard he would have knocked Javon Walker out of bounds. You talk about a rifle arm or a gun, that was John Elway.
Damian Nash is the running back, first down at the 18-yard line. Plummer to the end zone, and for Walker, and that's incomplete. Jammer is with him again, and it will be second down and 10. This is a big series here for the San Diego defense to try to keep it as a one-possession game, and for Denver to try to stretch it to 10 and not 6.
And you see Quentin Jammer and how far off he is, and he better turn and look for that ball. I mean, that's the thing. That's very, very close to interference. And that's one problem that Quentin Jammer has, is getting interference penalties.
Second down and 10. Quarterback draw. Nothing. 16-yard line. Jacques Césaire is there for the tackle. So another big third down play for the Broncos here. It'll be 3rd down and 7 at the 15-yard line.
Yeah, the Chargers played that very well. What the Broncos did is they went empty backfield, thinking that they would spread the defense out, leave no one in the middle, and then Jake Plummer could run that quarterback draw. Now I think he has to throw the ball. I mean, now he has to drop back and he has to throw, an 8 or 9 yard pass. I'm not saying he has to throw it to the end zone, but obviously he has to throw that 10-yard completion to get that first down.
Big play here. Shanahan's going to take a timeout. Timeout. A big 3rd and 7 when we come back. 3rd and 7, 15-yard line. John, what are you thinking here?
Well, you know what I would think is maybe put Javon Walker out there again on Quentin Jammer. Remember how Quentin Jammer was off him? And then instead of throwing a fade or a deep route, just throw a comeback. They're not going to do it because Javon Walker is on this side.
Right, and Drayton Florence is on him. You got Rod Smith to the right side. Plummer out of the shotgun. Drops the ball, picks it up, and they'll tackle him back at the 22, so you don't know what they had in mind here. But now you know that Jason Elam will come in to attempt about a 39-yard field goal.
I'll tell you, of all the times to drop it, remember earlier when we had a Denver Bronco game and Mike Shanahan was saying, and he told Jake Plummer that the way a quarterback makes his money in the NFL is on 3rd down. And that's what you expect. I mean, you're going to have first down plays that are good or bad, second down plays good or bad. You have to make the 3rd down play, and that was a big one for the Broncos right there.
Plummer holds for Elam. This from 38 yards. He's 1 for 1 from 42. He's now 2 for 2. So San Diego is able to stiffen, hold him to 3. Still a 1-possession game. Denver up by 6 with 11:13 to play.
On it, throw it, and block for you when he needs to.
He probably is as close to reminding me as anyone that I've seen in this league to Barry Sanders.
Talking about number 21, another phenomenal night for him. Just keeps putting new marks in the record book. San Diego will get the ball. Michael Turner running back the kick from the 1. Gets by Perkis and then is out of bounds up near the 45-yard line. Sunday Night Football is brought to you by Nissan, inviting you to shift the way you move through the world. By Sprint, be a better fan with NFL Mobile, only from Sprint. Power up. By Best Buy, wrap up the wow this holiday season only at Best Buy. And by yellowbook.com, quick, local, reliable search online at yellowbook.com. Downtown Denver glowing in the distance. LT, at least 3 touchdowns in 4 consecutive games. That has never been done before. Inside handoff, Tomlinson over the 50. Another first down. He's over 1,000 yards for the season with that rush, as he and Tiki Barber and Frank Gore and Larry Johnson are all in a hot battle for the rushing title. 5th player in the history of the league to begin his career with 6 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons.
The other thing that he just did on that last run, Al, you don't see a lot of running backs do. He makes moves with his feet, which we know, but he also makes moves with the ball.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot in this game.
Michael Turner comes in. He of the gaudy 6.5-yard per carry average. Rivers sets up, fires, caught, 25-yard line, and that's Antonio Gates. They find the big tight end at the 24, and another San Diego first down.
And you wonder, why haven't you been doing that all game? I mean, it seems like there's something you can do, but watch here Phillip Rivers, how he stands tall. I mean, he stands tall and he bounces. He doesn't gain ground going in that pocket, just bounces and waits and waits and waits. And why can he wait? Because he has excellent pass protection. But I like the way he stands tall in the pocket.
Tomlinson back in, out of the shotgun. From the 24, swinging to the outside. That's caught by Antonio Gates. Hey, a couple of guys that must love this. Dan Fouts and John Hadel, probably the 2 greatest quarterbacks in the history of the Charger franchise. And don't forget their original quarterback was Jack Kemp.
right? And you always kind of associate with those guys and the passing and the, Air Coryell and the pass offense and Fouts and, of course, Hadel with Sid Gilman and kind of coming back to those days for the Chargers. And then when they wear those powder blue uniforms, man, that is it.
Air Marty, 2nd and 4 from the 18. Tomlinson tries to spin around, nothing happening. Stopped at the 17, 8:45 to go, and upcoming a 3rd and 3 for the Chargers.
Now they ought to just take a game and just make all the different moves that LaDainian Tomlinson makes in a game. I mean, there's a new one right there, a spinner. And we know, about his straight arm. We know about his jump cuts, and that one we caught him on a spinner. But this is a big 3rd down now.
Crowd stopping. They built in some give, just like the old stadium. That's why the camera shakes. 3rd and 3.
I think they can still get the ball to Gates.
Rivers. Yep. 1st down, 1st and goal. Lynch makes the tackle. So they did not go to Gates at all for almost half the game. Now they've gone to him 5 times. He's their leading receiver.
And that's probably one of the things that they talked about at halftime, too. And in fact, I think Marty told Andrea that, we have to get the ball to Antonio Gates, and you just know that. So then you put in ways, you put in different things, and, you look and see how they're playing their nickel. They're playing Foxworth on Antonio Gates and nickel, and you see how you can work on him in 1st and 2nd down situations and in nickel situations.
1st and goal. Tomlinson to the outside, then back in, takes it to the 5, gets about 3 yards. He has 83 rushing yards tonight and 74 receiving yards tonight.
He was telling me, a couple of months ago about a game that he used to play as a kid, and I can just see that last round. Think about it. Used to be you get like 5 or 6 guys, and you throw the ball up in the air, and the guy that catches it runs, and everyone has to tackle him. He said that was his favorite game, and that's where he learned those moves. You catch the ball, 5 or 6 guys trying, and they could never tackle him.
2nd and goal. Trips left. Rivers to the left. Rivers throws to the back of the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown. Vincent Jackson at 6'5" and 241, and that's the kind of play you run with a 6'5" guy against a 5'8" defensive back, Darren Williams.
Yeah, again, a perfect throw by Phillip Rivers, and when you get that 6'5" guy, what you can do is just throw it to the back pylon. He's the outside receiver here, and he's just going to run to that pylon. You just throw it right back to that end pylon where either he's going to get it for a touchdown or it's going to be an incomplete pass.
Real close. He looks as if he has possession there. He gets both feet down. Then this contact from Williams. The side judge is looking right at it, and it's a touchdown. And upstairs, the Bronco defensive assistants are looking at it, and they tell Shanahan, don't even challenge. Save the timeout. The extra point by Kading is good. And San Diego erasing 2 21-point deficits last week. They've erased a 17-point deficit tonight. Chargers by 1. What a game. NFL.com. You can log on and vote your favorite players for the Pro Bowl. I think LaDainian Tomlinson may just be getting a couple of votes tonight.
I think he's going to get a ton of them. But he's the guy that has to be in anyway. I mean, he's the first guy in.
Meanwhile, Rivers a little shaky in the first half. The interception and had trouble finding his rhythm. All of a sudden, Phillip now 222 yards. And again, you talk about it, for lack of a better description, how a young quarterback has it. He's one of the it guys.
Right, and I think the last week was a big thing, that comeback. Once you have that, then you know you can do it, and you can feel the Chargers feeding off that tonight.
Cecil Sapp downs it in the end zone. Plummer is no stranger to fourth quarter comebacks. He's had a lot. He'll need another one. 28-27. No team in the history of this league has won consecutive games coming from 17 or more points behind in each game. Look at that, 12,000 328 games since 1920. Up to the minute, the Chargers are trying to do it. First down from the 20-yard line. And a lot depends on their defense now. Mike Bell up to the 25. San Diego's defensive coordinator is Wade Phillips, with a lot of ties here. It was Wade Phillips who coached the Broncos. He was the head coach here for 2 years, 93 and 94. He was fired, and in came Shanahan.
Wade Phillips, of course, his dad was Bum Phillips, and Wade is one of the top defensive coordinators in football. I mean, he's a real smart guy, and his defense is always play smart.
2nd and 5. This is Bell plugging forward. It's going to be 3rd down and a yard, maybe a yard and a half when they unpile.
You know, it's still tough to run in there on Jamal Williams. You got to kind of find something else that maybe you could do, because, you know, they'll start the double team and he just stands up the double team, and you have to get a push off your double team. And when you don't get a push on your double team, then it's tougher to get to that second level, and there's not much running in there.
3rd down, they'll spot it at the 28. So 3rd down and 2. And every 3rd down conversion from here on out, very big. On the ground, Bell gets it, moves the chains, and we'll go inside 5 minutes before the next play. Kyle Johnson, the fullback, leading the way with a block.
You know, Mike Shanahan came in here with a plan that he wasn't going to run Jake Plummer much. It wasn't going to be a lot of play action. It wasn't going to be a lot of bootleg. It was going to be a lot of run, and then drop back pass. And, you know, he's been sticking with the run, and I think that's something you do. You look at, you know, 4 minutes, 55 seconds. You still have plenty of time, so you don't have to rush anything. You don't have to press anything. You just stay with your game plan.
Damian Nash now in. A tailback from the 32-yard line. Fake the sap, and then Nash gets pounded down by Marcus Harris, the second-year outside linebacker, number 92. Read it perfectly, stayed with his man, and turns it into a 7-yard loss.
Like you say, he played that perfectly. And again, he's probably standing out there waiting for the bootleg. So in standing out there and waiting for the bootleg, when the ball goes away, he's also going to get that one, because that was the same thing where you fake to one side and then give it to the back going the other side. That would be the same effect as defending against a bootleg.
Loss of 6 officially. 2nd and 16 from the 26-yard line. Screen. Nash. Nice move. Up to the 37-yard line. Spun inside Drayton Florence to make it 3rd and manageable that time. 3rd down and 4 after a 12-yard gain.
And that was a perfect call against that defense. You're going to see a blitz coming from that side, from the left side of the Broncos offense. It's going to be coming from this side, and they throw the screen to the side of the blitz. So he just invites those pressure guys, gets a screen out there, and then he gets a big chunk of yardage. Like you said, and that puts him in 3rd and manageable, and now he has to manage it.
3rd and a big manageable 4. Big play here at the 38-yard line. From the 38, Plummer retreats. To the outside he goes, and Marshall is there. Can he one-hand it? No. Quentin Jammer with the coverage on the play. So they go to Marshall, who had a big play earlier, the rookie out of Central Florida, and he can't handle it.
You know, and you'd think in that situation that they'd be going to Javon Walker. This isn't a bad thing, though, because Marshall is open. You know, but, you know, again, that's what good hands are. You know, is you get the one hand out there, you got to get the other one out too.
And now Shanahan, the choices here, obviously, do you go for it or do you punt? You have 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, and Mike's going to take one of those timeouts here. So what do you do if you're Mike Shanahan right now? You know, on the other side, you give the ball back to San Diego. You know you've got Tomlinson. And the other thing going on here too, John, I mean, San Diego is getting over a lot of humps. They got to the playoffs in 04. Could have gotten there last year, had a ton of injuries. They found Rivers. Tomlinson is in full flower right now. Can they win a close game? They've lost their last 7 games decided by 3 or fewer points.
Yeah, and I think in this situation, though, the Broncos have to punt because they have plenty of time. I mean, you know, if you really believe that you have the best defense in football, then you have to let them play in that situation. Now, I think if you go for it now, and if you don't get it, then you're putting your defense in a tough position. If you punt, you're trusting your defense. If you don't punt, I don't think you trust your defense.
If you were going to punt, you should have punted before the timeout, because that would have left you 2 plus the 2-minute warning. Now you've got 1 plus the 2-minute warning. And when Mike took the timeout, it was obviously in his mind to think about the exact right play and to go for it. So they will go for it on 4th and 4.
Yeah, and then if you knew you were going to go for it on 4th down, I would have probably chosen a different 3rd down play. I think that play was to get a big chunk of yardage, and if you didn't get it, you would probably punt. If I knew I was going to go for it on 4th down, I would have had a shorter type play.
4th and 4. Can they get to the 42.5? Or will they just try to draw them offside? No, they're going to run the play. And the pass is intercepted at the 45 by Drayton Florence. And Florence is out of bounds. So Drayton Florence picks it off and runs it back inside the 25-yard line. That is actually not much worse than had they given up on downs. But right now, San Diego in field goal range, trying to make it at least a 4-point game.
Yeah, he was trying to get the ball to Rod Smith, and Dayton Florence was out there. He was just playing zone, but the thing that he did well in that zone, he got a good bump on Rod Smith, and then he threw Rod Smith's route out, and then he just backed up a little, and Jake Plummer threw it right to him.
So at the 23 now, you have 3:03 left in regulation. The Broncos have 1 timeout and the 2-minute warning. And of course, the big man right now is number 21 out of the backfield, because he can eat the clock and eat the yardage. And he starts by getting to the 18-yard line, and Denver will use its timeout here. So that's it. San Diego will run another play, and then they'll, in all likelihood, have to run 1 more play before the clock stops at the 2-minute warning. And Schottenheimer and Cameron going over that part of the strategy right now.
Cam Cameron was telling us last night that Marty Schottenheimer will say things to him, but Marty also says to Cam Cameron, you don't have to listen to me. He said, if I say something and you don't want to listen, don't listen, because you're the play caller. I think you have to do that as a head coach.
Standings, the winner goes to 8-2, loser to 7-3, with KC at 6-4. And John, you know it's a big situation when Marty puts the headset on, right?
Yeah, right, because he wants to hear, and not only hear, he wants input. But like Cameron said, he doesn't have to listen, and I don't know if he listened to Marty then or not, because he's been calling a good game. Cam Cameron, the offensive coordinator tonight, I think has called an excellent game, especially in the second half. I mean, getting down, and staying steady and staying with your plan.
2nd down and 5 from the 18-yard line. Tomlinson. And they're going to not wrap him up. He's going to get the 1st down. And finally, he is out of bounds at the 5-yard line. And that will stop the clock with 2:45. And that gives Denver its only chance really to stay in the game, because the clock stops here. And it will stop once more at the 2-minute warning.
Watch Tomlinson here, how he jump cuts there. Then as he gets down, he just gets down low. The big thing is he never stops his feet. His feet are always going. But you see, he makes that jump cut there. Then he gets down low. He makes himself small. But his feet are going all the time. He's moving forward, moving sideways, and then moving forward again. Came close to getting pants.
It behooves San Diego here to run a play that takes at least 5 seconds, so they can get inside 2:40 and let the clock run down to the 2-minute warning. Otherwise, they'd have to run another play before the 2-minute warning. They need a 5-second play here. And Tomlinson might make it moot. He takes the ball inside the 1. So the play clock right now is 37. So the play clock is 1 second beyond the game clock. So San Diego can now take it to the 2-minute warning, and that'll be the last stoppage of the clock.
Right, I was just going to say, as they take it down there, which they did take it down there, they almost got a touchdown out of it.
Yep. But they took that play took 6 seconds before it was reset. So once they got to 2:39, they didn't have to run another play. Of course, it's all going to be moot if he gets into the end zone anyway. But then again, I don't want to say that, because you score, you kick the extra point. It's still a 1-possession game, and Denver's going to get the ball. ain't over. Tain't over, McGee. 28-27. Great game. LaDainian Tomlinson, fastest to 100 in history. Pass is caught, and here goes touchdown number 101.
He is something special.
What's up? Coming up, rock star of the game highlights and interviews. Look back at this one right now with 2 minutes to go. Even if San Diego scores and with a conversion, it's a one-possession game. If you're Denver, you're between a rock and a hard place right now. I mean, in a way, you might as well just let them get into the end zone. You have no timeouts. Take all the time you can when you get the ball back. Otherwise, I mean, if San Diego, let's say, ran a couple of kneel downs, that's going to leave Denver with no time.
Yeah, San Diego would better to run kneel down than to score, because I agree with you. I mean, I hate to say it. I hate to agree with it. But Denver should let San Diego score here.
And here's Rivers. That's half a kneel down.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to score.
He's like creeping. He's creeping in. So they can't run the clock out. It's 3rd down. The one thing you do want to do is get into the end zone. And you don't want to have to kick a field goal and then let Denver score a miracle touchdown and win the game. You at least want to get the touchdown to make it an 8-point game.
Right. So then you have to go for the touchdown on this down on 3rd down.
I think you do.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, that was a very funny move, though.
I agreed with that one, but you have to go for touchdown
Tomlinson. Here. In he goes, and that is 4 for LaDainian Tomlinson. 4 last week, 4 this week. He may obliterate the record by the end of the season.
Couldn't a lot of players in this league learn how to celebrate from LaDainian Tomlinson? I mean, this is a real pro. I mean, you go in there and you break all kinds of records. You obliterate everything. You're as good as there is in this game, and you act like you've done it before. You're doing it tonight, and you're going to do it again.
He tied a record first set by Jim Taylor in '62, tied by Marshall Faulk in 2000. 2 consecutive games with 4 touchdowns in each. Flag down here.
I go back to that 4th down play, Al, when Denver went for it. I don't think Mike Shanahan trusted his defense. Either that or he respects the heck out of the San Diego offense.
You've got a personal foul against Denver, which means the kickoff will come from the 45-yard line.
Which usually also means frustration.
Unnecessary roughness, number 52. It's a 15-yard penalty. The point is good. We'll enforce it on the kickoff.
Another flag.
Yeah, that flag was on Ian Gold.
No, and then just throw another one.
Well, the chances are they were going to get a touchback anyway. Now it's going to be a definite touchback. They could be kicking off from inside Denver territory.
Well, they were talking about the penalty on Ian Gold. Then the other official threw another flag.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 27, against an official. It's a 15-yard penalty. The ball will be placed 30 yards from the kickoff. The ball will be placed at the 40-yard line.
That was Darren Williams, who at one point looked like he would be one of the heroes tonight with that interception run back.
No, those are 2 frustration penalties. And they come here, and then things start going. San Diego started having their way. They go again. See, there's Darren Williams. There's going to be the one on him. You can't do that. And Ferguson should be out of there too. I mean, both of them ought to get away.
Meanwhile, here is LaDainian Tomlinson, who has visited the end zone on occasion. Little toss to the umpire.
Yeah, and I just got the feeling that he was kind of tired of hearing that he's never played well here in Denver and played here 5 times, and the Chargers never won a game. And you just feel, you know, I mean, sometimes you see a player, you talk to a player, and you just feel that he has a feeling, you know, I've had enough of that stuff.
Yep. 22 touchdowns. San Diego has scored a TD on each of their last 4 possessions. 42 points in the second half last week. 28 tonight. Tomlinson, I mean, the season is 10 games old. That's 22 touchdowns. He's only 6 behind Alexander. He would only need a touchdown a game to tie Alexander's touchdown mark.
You know, and the offensive line has a big part of that too. And I know when we were talking to Cam Cameron about that, he said, you know, early, he said, when I had Phillip Rivers and we were, you know, trying to manage him and have him manage the game, keep the wraps on him, he said a lot of people forgot that I also had a rookie left tackle in Marcus McNeil. And that's the toughest offensive line position to play. He said, so I had to find out about this guy. Do we have to help him in pass protection? Do we have to do anything? And then we found out we don't have to help this guy. That this guy, in fact, he said, this is the best left tackle that he's had since he's been there. Watch him here. I mean, this is the way he plays. I mean, he's a big guy. He's 6'8". He's strong. He's 330 pounds, and he is a tough guy.
Mm-hmm. He has 2 broken hands.
Well, that's how tough he is.
That's tough.
And you know, in football today and in pass protection, I mean, using your hands and getting your hands on a guy is such a big thing. To have 1 broken hand is tough. To have 2 of them, you know, it's almost impossible because you just have to just say, the heck with it. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm not even going to think about it. The pain won't bother me. Talking about that, now the Chargers are thinking what kind of kickoff they should do here.
Yep.
Because they're kicking off from the 40 here. They lined up once, and then Marty called them over to the sideline. They went over and talked about it, and then they're just coming out again. And you know one thing, he's not just going to go bombs away here. It has to be. It's not a bad place to onside kick.
Well, the worst thing that happens if touchback, obviously you start at the 20, but maybe San Diego wants to give Plummer a few more yards to have to work with, so they'll either have to go 80 or longer. The downside, of course, is that, you know, you get a good run back on the other side. It's still a 1-possession game, and that kick will be fielded in the end zone and then brought out. And of all the things you don't want to do, that's it. That's Cecil Sapp. That's the last thing you want to do. You let it bounce, and it's going to go into the end zone, and you have it at the 20.
Right, and I don't know exactly what kind of kick that was, because I thought, you know, he's either going to kick it in and let him bring it out to the 20, or he's going to line drive it, but he kind of blooped it up there.
And you know what, John? The fact that Sapp probably didn't know what kind of a kick it was made him go out and get it.
Yeah, because it looked like half a kickoff and half a punt.
It was like Rivers' initial sneak into the end zone. Half kneel down, half
sneak prayer. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
From the 2, they have to go 98 and get a 2-point conversion, and that's incomplete. And one other thing, and you got another flag here.
But anyway, getting back to that Charger offense, and we know Phillip Rivers is a big part of it.
Illegal touching of a pass, number 50, offense, half the distance to the goal. Repeat, first down.
Ben Hamilton.
No, and new guys, but Marcus McNeil is also a big part of that.
You know, John, one thing we haven't even touched on tonight, because the game has been so compelling
By number 50
and back and forth,
second down,
is just to go back for a second with San Diego. They get Rivers. Remember, Manning's not going to go there. They effect the trade with the Giants. They wind up getting Phillip. He's the number 4 overall pick in the draft. He sits on the bench for 2 years because Drew Brees emerges as a star. Plummer to throw again to the outside, and that is caught for a short gain by Alexander. And nobody expected Brees to be what he was over the last 2 years. Then you have a case where, do you pay Brees about $10 million to stay, or do you let this guy go at it? And Marty Schottenheimer and A.J. Smith, the general manager, were not on the same page here. Marty wanted them to keep Brees. Smith wanted them to go with Rivers. And right now, A.J. Smith appears to have made a hell of a decision here, because Rivers has done the job. They get Sean Merriman as part of that trade as well. They get Nate Kading as part of that trade as well. As Plummer throws over the middle, and that pass is a little low. So it's funny the way, you know, you take a big gamble. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
No, this one worked, and it worked because of Phillip Rivers. And Interestingly, the Denver Broncos are going to have that same decision because, you know, they have Jake Plummer and then they have Jake Cutler. And Jake Cutler is going to be the starting quarterback of this Denver Bronco team. It's just when. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? Is it going to be 2 years from now? I would say it's not going to be 2 years from now.
And I don't think it'll be this year either because, I mean, they're still in the race.
So it's probably in the middle there because Jake Cutler is a lot like Phillip Rivers.
Game is over if they don't convert. But they do convert, and it's Javon Walker up to the 33. Again, they cannot stop the clock, so Plummer's got to get up there and spike the ball, and he'll have under 40 seconds. But they're up at the 34-yard line. They have 66 yards to go. And Jake pounds it into the ground with 34 seconds, and now another flag. And I think you're going to have a disqualification here as well.
Well, Olshansky is walking off the field, so, and he's not injured. And Marty's yelling at him.
Yep. He's out of the game and getting an earful.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 99. 15-yard penalty. Number 99 is also ejected from the game.
And that's why Marty is so crazy, and who can blame him? 15 more yards, and you lose your starting defensive end.
Right, and here he is. There it is right there.
Oh, sure.
You see, it was just a left to the head and then a right. I think what he was upset about, he thought Nalen went for his knees, which he did, but that's okay. I mean, you know, when a center goes to block you like that, you can't punch him. I mean, that was a stupid thing for Olshansky to do, and I think he's hearing about it right now.
And now you have 51 yards to go. Denver has it at the 49, so they convert on 4th down from inside their 10. They convert, they get the penalty, and now they're 51 yards away. Plummer stepping up, throws, caught, Smith. He's down at the 37. Denver regrouping. That's a first down. 25, 24, and now you have another flag at the end of that play. So the clock momentarily stopped with 24 seconds.
Delay a game, defense, number 29. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Contending Drayton Florence did not give the offensive player the opportunity to get up. In other words, he was staying on him too long, not enabling him to get up, and thus he's flagged for that.
And the big part of that penalty is stop the clock. So now the Broncos can call a good play. They have time to regroup, you know, and get that play. And I would think they have to think of some way to get the ball to Javon Walker.
And now they're at the 32-yard line. They've got Smith in the slot left. They've got Walker wide to the left.
And the Chargers are in a prevent defense. You can see there, you know, they have the receivers covered. Plus they have 3 deep about 20 yards. So they're not going to let them get the quick, easy strike.
Now you got the officials are still discussing the situation, enabling Plummer to go over for consultation and a drink.
That was a long time out.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that was all about because Carolla was still going over things with the officials. There was no official timeout. It's 1st and 5. The ball is at the 32-yard line. Plummer moving to his left, taken down, loses the ball. And in effect, that's going to pretty much do it because with 14 seconds left, Denver has it, but it was Sean Phillips who came in. Denver is going to come up with a football. They're going to spot it, but the clock keeps running, and that will do it.
There's 2 footballs on the field.
And hold everything here because when the ball didn't go out of bounds, the clock kept running. Carollo and the line judge now get together.
That's the end of the game.
But tell me why, Bill. It is the end of the game. In effect, despite the confusion on the field, when the ball did not go out of bounds, the clock kept running. The best thing that would have happened for Denver is had the ball gone out of bounds, but it didn't. And San Diego thus becomes the first team in the history of the National Football League, starting in 1920, to win Back-to-back games down by 17, and the first team to win 4 straight games when allowing 24 or more in a game. Wow.
Whoa.
I mean, I tell you what, the Chargers are playing the most exciting football in the National Football League. Week after week. Phillips with the sack and the fumble. Cesare can't handle it. And then the best thing that could have happened is the ball goes out of bounds. Even though Denver recovers, it is inbounds. Clock runs out. Phillips and the Chargers win the game. They're in first. Back we come after this.